The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great. Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Thought out shows. I hope you guys don't like structure, because you're not going to get that today. Being quite honest, I walked in here about 10 minutes ago, and we're just going to let it rip. That's what we're doing today. We're just going to let it rip with all the emotions, all the thoughts, and there's a lot of them. Everything that we've got in the tank is going to just be laid out here. It's going to almost be like a hashing out, right? You ever had a feud with someone, or maybe you've been in a relationship that, you know, is kind of rocky at a time, and you just, like, at one point you tiptoe around, you're like, how are we going to work through this? Then, like, finally sit down and you gain enough confidence, and you have so many thoughts spiraling through your head that you're just like, let's just let it roll. Let's just let it rip. Let's just pour it all out there and see what happens, and we'll pick up the pieces when it's done. And that's where we are in Cincinnati on this Friday morning. Is we're picking up the pieces of what seems like a shattered team, what seems like a shattered season, what seems like shattered everything. Expectations shattered in a bad way. Because sometimes you can shatter them in a good way, right? You just go right through the roof, and it feels like we went through the basement door. The Bengals lose last night to the Baltimore Ravens, and after their first loss to the Baltimore Ravens, you sat there and you wondered, how could we feel worse? And I don't know. I don't feel worse. A lot of Bengals fans do, because we're later in the season, because it kind of all unfolded the same way, where we had a lead late in the game, and it feels like, oh, man, in a season where you start 0-3 and you got to count wins, and you got to get to this benchmark. I don't know where you guys were looking at, but they have the score bug and they have their record underneath there, and we go up 21-7, and you start looking at, and you're like, man, that 4-5 is going to be 5-5 soon. But in the back of your mind, you know, we've seen this before, almost to a T. And here we are, 4-6, another game in which the offense scores 34 points, 30-plus points. I think our boss, Trace Fowler, put up in the 6 losses this year that the Bengals have, the opponent has scored either mid-30s or low 40s in every single game, every single loss, other than the Chiefs. Chief was, 26, 27? Joe Burrow throws for 426 yards, 4 touchdowns. Jamar Chase has a day that, for any other wide receiver in the National Football League, would be their best game of their career. But Jamar Chase has now done it twice. And with his age, it's seemingly, you think he's going to do it again. He's probably going to do it again. And I've said this before about Jamar Chase. I, in my Bengals fandom, haven't given him enough credit. He is truly one of one. He is truly incredible. We are so lucky to have him. We're so lucky to have certain players, and you heard it from the quarterback's mouth himself. Joe's playing well. Jamar's playing well. Trey's playing well. It's a tough quote, but a lot of honesty. We're going to break it all down. Like I said, when I'm telling you, the joke when I host this show is that I plan 5 segments. It's a 6-segment show. I normally plan 5, and it's dealer's choice for segment number 6. We've got a big old goose egg. No script. That's what they always talk about the NFL, which the Bengals, hey, give them credit. When they're on script, that offense looks to be firing on cylinders. No script for old Chatterbox Sports today. It's Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, 1410 Wing AM. Bringing it to you. I'm Reed Mouse, filling in for Justin Kenner today, which, by the way, Ken Doggy, what's with the tweets, my guy? What's with the tweets? Ugh.
I feel like up until this point, and by
Elliot
the way,
Rearing's in the room.
sorry, my voice is gone. I cheered as loud as I could last night. Kenner, Kenner, I mean, you were so good up until this point, but what are we doing? I mean, why are we screaming at the Bengals fans right now for loudly stating that the referees missed two very obvious calls? Like they missed calls. We'll talk about the refs later, but I'm just saying, like,
I have a lot of thoughts
out of all the things to get mad at Bengals fans for, having two blatantly missed calls not go your way on the biggest play of the game is something that people are going to talk about. I mean, it's just what it is, and we'll talk about the refs in a minute. But I cheered my loudest last night.
You did.
I cheered as loud as I could.
We
I
brought
tried.
our A game. We did our part.
We did our part, Reed.
We did our part. The defense did not.
Reed got Champions Grill more fired up than I've ever seen it. You got the cheers going after every touchdown. Even when the Bengals lost the lead, Reed brought the cheers back, and it kind of brought the vibes back. I tried our best as a fan base. Jacob's. I went back and watched all the highlights of Jacob's show last night. Great job, Jacob and Craig. Jacob's reactions were the best he's had probably all season long. The fan base tried our best.
We brought our A game.
We there's nothing else we could have done. The 12th man did our part, and I want to say, like, it's not even painful. Like, when I get pissed off at losses. I got pissed off when the Bengals lost to the Chiefs on that nonsense. I got pissed off when you lose to the Ravens the first time. Last night's just heartbreaking. It just sinks you down as low as you can go. And honestly, it's one of those things. I told Jacob earlier this week I'd be out. I think I'm out if the Bengals lose this game because I just don't think that they can beat good teams. But I'm wrong. They can beat good teams.
We haven't done it yet.
No, well, they do. They beat them for 95% of the game, and then the only team they don't beat is themselves. The Bengals are 0-1 against themselves. They kick themselves down in the teeth way late in games, and it costs them every time. The Bengals cannot play against the refs, the opponent, and themselves. It's not a recipe for success, and that's what's been happening. And it's just heartbreaking. Week after week, I texted you guys last night, like the knives to the heart. I'm getting stabbed in the heart with these losses. Just shoot me in the face. Just get me out early. Bow and arrow me in the eye. I want to be out. I don't need to be up 21-7 and lose. I don't need to have big leads and control the entirety of the game. And we're going to talk about the defense here in a minute too, but I thought the defense for 86% of that game played solid. I'm not going to sit here. I know we're going to talk about it all, but just my gut thoughts right off the cuff here is like the Bengals did enough to win that game, but then they just beat themselves up. They beat their own team up to a point where you just can't recover from it. So I'm pretty down.
There's a contingent, and we'll get to Jacob here. We'll welcome into the show. There's a contingent of Bengals fans or Bengals observers. I don't want to call them fans. They watch the Bengals games, I should say. That they like to belittle the guy that I always support, which is Joe Burrow. They like to belittle this offense. And there was a lot of tweets from that contingent that's like, oh, the defense is bringing their game. The offense needs to bring it on. And this is when the offense had scored 21 points through the first 35 minutes of the game. So you're on pace for about 37 points, 35 points. So pretty good game. And they're still like, the offense needs to bring it better. The defense brought it today. And after all those, I scroll through X, scroll, and I see all those tweets. I think from that point forward, we gave up 28 points in a half of football. 28. More of the same from that defense. Golly day. I don't know. Jacob, welcome into the show.
Hi, Jacob.
Elliot showed me, we were watching the game together. I think it's the first time since we went to the Suites last year that we watched a Bengals game together, and I act a little bit of a fool. I try to get it all out in the first half, knowing that if it's in the second half, it gets close, I get real quiet because my heart is I'm gonna need what are those? It's AED, right? The shocks.
Right,
yeah, like clear.
Defibrillator?
Yeah, defibrillator. I know I'm going to need those, so I do all my bits in the first half to kind of like state that, Reed Mouse is like, I'm here. I like the limelight. I'm a self-centered person. All that good stuff. Yeah, at one point, Elliot shows me, and he's showing me a clip from you. And the clip had just started, and I'm sorry for our radio audience, but we're on YouTube. You can join in whenever you guys want. Chatterbox Sports, and Jacob goes live for the entirety of the game. And the clip started, and it's on a touchdown. And I said right when the clip started, I said he's going to at one point stand up and make an O with his arms and flex down. And the plan happens. It's like a 50-second play, and it comes at the end, and Jacob's like, yeah! It's right there at the end. I saw it from a mile away. I mean, it was just the most Jacob thing I've ever seen. I'm really good at pointing out people's mannerisms. I don't like when people point out mine. Jacob, welcome into the show.
Hey.
Hi, Jacob.
I'm broken today. A lot of sentiment in the chat when you guys were starting it off that I wasn't going to be here today. Thought I was going to take a mental health day. Boy, I need it. That broke me down last night. That was a tough one. But big time shout out to everyone that watched. We had well over 100 people in there at about 1 a.m. wrapping up the post game when we got out of there. So big time thank you to everyone who tuned in last night. It was a fun one for the majority of the game. I mean, when you have a 14-point lead, it doesn't get much better than that. Certainly chalked it up as a win in my head. I do take full blame for the loss. With the 14-point lead, when we forced the Ravens to punt, I whispered into the mic, is the Bengals defense good? From that point on, the Bengals defense was very not good. So I take blame for how that snowball rolled down the hill. But, yeah, it was a tough one. Elliot kind of covered it there. I don't know how many more times we can lose close ones like this. A 35-point loss. I mean, the way we lost to the Eagles, that certainly would have been easier to swallow. Maybe you're just not a very good football team. But this team continues to show that they have elite talent at crucial positions. Some of the best in the league at edge rusher, wide receiver, and quarterback. Those are the cornerstones of a championship team.
We have, if they played on good teams, which that's me admitting that this Bengals team, and there's a take on that in a little bit, so I might contradict myself here in a little bit. If Joe Burrow was on a team that was 7-3 with his stats, he'd be the leading MVP candidate. If Jamar Chase, he already is the leading offensive player of the year.
Jamar Chase is having an MVP season.
He's going to be the offensive player of the year. He's going to be the offensive player of the year, Jamar Chase. Unless he gets hurt, something like along those lines, or Justin Jefferson or Derrick Henry break. If Derrick Henry goes for 2,200 yards, which we stifled that quite a bit, he only had 67 last night, then it makes it harder. But at this point, Jamar Chase is the leading candidate. He's probably the leading vote getter or the leading better. Maybe he's right there, one or two, for Offensive Player of the Year. And if once again, if we were 7-3, Trey Hendrickson would be a very serious candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. And he should regardless, because this defensive line, I said this on the show yesterday at Champions, Trey Hendrickson before yesterday's game was on pace for about 21.5 sacks. The record for NFL sacks in a single season is 22.5. So he was one sack off, leading on pace for one sack off the NFL record. That being said, this Bengals defense is 26th in sacks on the season. We have a guy that was on pace or right around on pace to make NFL histories for a statistic that we are in the bottom 6th percentile in the National Football League. All that being said, I actually had a positive light after last night's game, and we'll get to that when we come back on 1410 Wing Aim. It's Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. Just let it roll. Just let it roll. Hang on. Don't do anything.
There we
back.
go.
Hey, we're back. That a boy.
There we go. I'm tired, guys.
That a boy, Jacob Coop. Yeah, we're back on Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers 1410 Wing AM. If you're a radio listener, come in and join us on Chatterbox Sports. Just get on YouTube, search Chatterbox Sports. We're live every day, 10 A to 12 P, you can get in the chat. And I don't say this enough. I'm not on the show a whole lot anymore, but the real, as much fun as Elliot is, as Jacob is, as Casey is, as can't hurt today. I can't pump you up. But Trace, when he's in here, when everyone's in here, we have a lot of fun. The real highlight of the chat, or the real highlight of the show, is the chat, and everyone that is in our chat knows that. So thank you guys so much for being here every single day. Give us a like, give us a subscription. So last night, we do this thing before every Bengals game. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but we kind of put like I don't want to say a budget, but you set expectations for how you're going to feel regardless of how the game plays out. You look at the game and you go, all right, and we've done this since the 0-3 start. Is this a must-win? Is this a must-win? Is this a must-win? I'm tired of hearing that, but, they're valid questions when you start 0-3, and every single game feels like a must-win. I feel like the consensus going into last night was it necessarily wasn't a must-win. I think, Elliot, actually, I like this take that you had when I was watching the show earlier this week. You said it's can have you back, I think is how you phrased it. Like, if you win it, you're all the way back. And I feel like that's how a lot of us fall. Like, if we lose to the Baltimore Ravens, who I thought going into last night's game was a top 3 team in the league, now watching them through 2 games against this Bengals team and the defense, I don't think I can put them as a top 3 team in the league, but still one of the true contenders in the National Football League, regardless, because of how dynamic Lamar Jackson is, because of how great that offense is, all those things. So you set a budget, you say, all right, if we win, I'm all the way back. If we lose, there's no way it can feel worse than it did last time. I refuse to be all the way out on the team. We lose by 50. We do all these things. There's no way that I'll feel worse. There's no way. This is how I'm going to feel if we lose. And to that, it feels like, I don't know how many gamblers are in here, but you go to the casino and you say, I brought $150. If I get to $250, I'm leaving. That's it. Point blank, I'm done. Or if I lose this money, no going to the ATM. And if you're our gambler, that's harder. That's better said than done. That's how we are going into Bengals games. We say, if we win, I'm all the way back. We are true contenders once again. If we lose, I'm not out on the season because that's a good team. 4-6. I just need to see how it plays. And then we see it happen. We see it unfold. You have a 21-7 lead. You score 34 points against the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore, tough place to play. We give them their largest deficit at home in 4 seasons. I think that graphic showed up. It was the 2021 Green Bay Packers who won 13 games that year and were the number 1 seed in the NFC. Aaron Rodgers was an MVP candidate. We give them their largest deficit at home. We end up losing the game. And maybe it's just where you're at as a Bengals fan and, the years of it all just weighing on you, that you kind of feel like, man, all it takes is one bad thing to happen. Then Chase Brown fumbles, and right when the fumble happened, it pretty much took the wind out of all of our sails. And we knew that this probably wasn't going to go our way. And then, we go back and forth, the deep shot to Jamar. We get a call here, and then we score to Jamar, and then let's go for 2, let's take it. I don't know how you guys, we'll get to the 2-point conversion thing here in a second. I was in favor of it, but even with that, I think we still might have lost because they had 2 timeouts in 40 seconds with Lamar Jackson, and our defense isn't very good. And they have Justin Tucker, although he hasn't been very good, but would have been 30 yards, and they're in field goal range to win the game. Beside the point, I left last night's game more in a concrete, more legitimized my opinion on what this team is. And I said this weeks ago. I don't think this team is all that great. I don't think this team, in fact, with the defense that they have, giving up 35 points seemingly every single week, is all that good. That being said, I think there is not a team in the world that wants to see the Cincinnati Bengals sneak into the postseason. I feel more concrete in that fact than I ever have. If you are the Kansas City Chiefs, who have, we are kind of, maybe it's funny to call ourselves this, but we are slightly live in their head. We are a little bit of a boogeyman to the Chiefs. If you are the Ravens and you feel like you snuck out 2 wins against us, if you are the Houston Texans, whoever they are in the AFC, if by some grace of God the Bengals win some games, and there's a lot of winnable games still on this schedule. Titans, Browns, Cowboys don't look very good. And in a conference that where 9 wins might get you in, 10 definitely doesn't. Not a whole lot of leeway. There isn't a team that wants to play the Cincinnati Bengals because of the things that Joe Burrow said at the podium last night, because they have Jamar Chase going for 260 in a divisional game, because they have Joe Burrow throwing for nearly 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns against the Baltimore Ravens in 2 games this season. I don't know why I feel better about the Bengals today than I did yesterday. I can't explain it. And you know me. I don't hide it. I am the happy-go-lucky guy when it comes to the Bengals. I am all positive until they show me something to be overtly negative. And there's a lot of things to be overtly negative about at this very moment. But I keep feeling like things are trending in the right direction. And maybe when you start 0-3, and I know that's Elliot's point, I know that's a lot of points, is when you start slow, you don't give yourself time to figure it all out. And I know I'm rambling, and I know I'm going all over the place, but as I said, I didn't structure a show. But we saw a good half from the defense. Good enough to where Jacob's whispering in the microphone and jinxing the game.
I know.
Saying this defense might be good. We've seen moments of really good defense.
Great half.
I really thought it was a good defense.
We are seeing this offense kind of work through problems on a game in which we don't have our wide receiver 2. On a game in where we really didn't have a second running back. We handed off to Khalil Herbert. We say, hey, here's your chance, buddy. We just got you. We're going to hand it off to you, and what he fumbles it right away. Nah, what are you going to do about that? We can't put you back in the game, Khalil. I'm sorry, buddy. We're gonna back to the. We'll work with you this practice. You'll probably get chances to play in the future. We got Cody Ford playing left tackle. So if you think about it, this offense is without its 3rd best player in Orlando Brown, its 4th best player in T. Higgins. It's without any real wide receiver 3 threat. I know we keep doing this, Jermaine Burton.
2?
Well, yeah, I'm saying with T. Higgins gone.
Yeah, I'm saying, there's no one on this
team
team that can step into that role. Yeah.
Yoshi's so selfish. He only wants to play football in the red zone. Chase Brown's a pretty good player.
Chase Brown rocks, man.
He's a really good player. I kept calling him Austin Eckler. I kept calling him Austin Eckler.
Love that.
We got Ted Karras having penalties. like
They beat
a lot of things shouldn't have worked last night, and they still did. This defense that we know is terrible is going up against the number 1 offense in the NFL, and for a half played really good. I looked at Elliott. They scored on their first drive. The Baltimore Ravens scored on their first drive, and I looked at him and I said, I know they just kind of marched it down the field, but our boys are flying around. And if there's any quarterback other than Lamar Jackson last night, we probably get 3 sacks on the guy. Probably, maybe even more. Jacob's pointing. He's giving me this. I don't know if he was saying we want more sacks or if this is what we should do to Kenner, but
both. But it's every time we play the Ravens, I feel like I'm watching the game and I feel like, okay, this D-line's making a difference. Yeah. They're getting pressure. And then I look at halftime and there's 0 sacks and Lamar's thrown for 100 yards because he runs around the line behind the line of scrimmage for 5 seconds and then dumps it. He shot a jump shot last night into the end zone that resulted in a touchdown. That's ridiculous. There were people in our chat last night on Chatterbox Bengals that were saying, oh, Lamar's this great running back, but he can't throw. He's just running around to make it easier on himself. We watch different games if we're still going to detract from Lamar Jackson. There is nothing negative that should be said about Lamar Jackson when it comes to playing quarterback anymore. He is very, very clearly in the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks.
Top 3, dude. He's the number 2 quarterback in the NFL. He's the number 2.
I still like Josh.
I like Josh.
I said this before.
If nobody's gonna touch him, if it's impossible to touch this guy, he's the best. He's number 2 behind Pat. He's number 2. There's only so many times I can watch him. I counted seconds. I started counting seconds. How many seconds he had to throw yesterday. No, I know our defense sucks, but it was one of those things where he had infinity time. And once you give him infinity time, he just runs around side to side, up and down. He can do whatever he wants. And then once somebody's open down there, he's able to throw perfection. He's able to drop anything anywhere, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. He's not a running back. He's a quarterback, and he's a damn good one. I'm tired of the Lamar slander. He's unbelievable.
We'll see what happens in January before we put him.
Well, no. That's. I'll make this take as we go into break when it comes to Lamar. Once again, we don't have a plan for this show, so it's going to be a lot of ranting, and you're gonna. I mean, if you want to take a piece of paper out and just like connect the thoughts that we're going through.
You ever seen Always Sunny?
It would be that
Charlie on the board connecting everything.
Right. That's where it's going to be.
Crazy show.
Because that's where we're going to go right now is with talking about Lamar Jackson. I've had this take now for about a year. It's that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. There's a tier number 2 that contains 2 people. That's Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. And then there's a tier 3 that's Joe Burrow. And for what it's worth, I think tier 2 and tier 3 are closer than tier 2 and tier 1. I think Patrick, and I know he's not playing that well, but guys, come on. He always wins the game. In a league where you're supposed to win the game, and we can say I love Joe Burrow, but in a league where he's putting up 426 yards, he loses the game. In a league where Patrick Mahomes goes for 167, he wins the game because at the last second he makes the whatever. I'm done criticizing Lamar and Josh Allen because they can't beat Patrick Mahomes. That's the only criticism that you can have for him at this point is that they can't beat what seemingly is looking like the second best or the best quarterback of all time. I'm done doing that.
But my guy can.
That's why we put Joe up there too.
That's right.
That's why we put Joe up there too. That's why.
The Bengals are losing these games in historic fashion.
Let's do that.
Like I don't think.
Oh yeah.
I don't think. And I was trying to find this stat. And shout out to Nate in the chat. He sent this to me. There have been 2 instances. 2.
This is the best.
There have been 2 instances in NFL history where a quarterback had the following: 30-plus completions, 300-plus passing yards, 4-plus passing touchdowns, multiple 40-plus yard touchdown passes, no more than 1 interception, and yet lost. There's only been 2 in NFL history, in the history of the league. Both instances were Joe Burrow versus the Ravens, Week 5 and Week 10. Both were Joe Burrow versus the Ravens in Week 5 and Week 10. Teams don't lose like this. Nobody loses like this. In the league, in the history of the sport, nobody has lost like this. And they continue to lose. It's impossible. It's unfathomable. There's no way that this should be happening. And it happens every week. This isn't just a one-off week. That Chiefs loss. Nobody loses like that. I'm not going to sit here and blame the refs because there's some devil magic going on here. There's devil magic. And the Bengals are getting screwed. They screwed themselves, but at the same time, it's just like no fan base goes through this. They have tough losses. They have heartbreaking losses, but they don't have to go through it every week.
Let's take a break. When we come back, I have an opinion on the Bengals losses and how I think you should go about thinking about this team in relative to the losses, because there's a couple rules, there's a couple ways that you can go down, but this is how I'm going to choose. That when we come back on 1410 Wing AM Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Reed Mouse filling in for Justin Kinner. Welcome back to Off the Bench. Kinner, you stink. I hate your tweets. I love you, Kinner. So Elliot just had this lovely rant, and I think this is when the show's at its best, when we're just dudes, like grieving, talking about teams that we like, and we just can go on a rant with no coherent thought. But here's something that might not be a coherent thought. I think it's maybe a little coherent. Is how I'm choosing to go about the Cincinnati Bengals and their losses. Because there's a couple roads you can go down. And I want to split them both ways. I want to do it both. You can sit here and look at a loss to an undefeated team, 2-time Super Bowl champs, back-to-back. They might three-peat for the first time in NFL history, where they get a 4th and 16 penalty and end up kicking a field goal to beat you. And you can go, man, we should have won that one. And then you can look at both Ravens game where you have a 14-point lead midway through the third and a 10-point lead 2 different times in the fourth, and you lose both times there. And you can go, man, if one play goes our way, if Chase Brown doesn't fumble the ball last night, if we just get a first down after Lamar Jackson fumbles it in OT, if we don't get that defensive pass interference called against the Chiefs, we would be 7-3. But you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't, maybe you get one mulligan where you go like, we should have won that game. When it happens time and time again, you can't back on that. Because at that point, it's not a variable. It's just kind of who the team is. I don't like to doing the excuses. In fact, I think talking about how you almost won a game is as big of loser talk as talking about the refs. And that's the other thing I'm not doing. I didn't do it against the Chiefs. I didn't do it on the defensive pass interference. Because there's multiple, and over the course of a 60-minute game, there's multiple chances for you to put that one away against the Chiefs. Over the course of last night, there's multiple instances where you could have separated yourself even further from the Ravens to where it doesn't come down and you don't need a 2-point conversion with 38 seconds to go. And like I said, and like I alluded to earlier, with the way that defense is playing, 38 seconds, 2 timeouts with Lamar Jackson. Are you sure we're going to win that game even if we get the 2-point conversion? And I know Justin Tucker isn't having a great season, but he's still Justin Tucker.
Justin Tucker would have won it.
Analytics said kick the extra point.
Because of
winning percentage, kicking the extra point, 43%. Winning percentage if you get the 2-point conversion, 41%. So a 2 percentage point gain if you kick the extra point on chances of winning the game, at least according to analytics.
The reason I liked going for 2 was,
I like going for 2 as well.
And I'm not doing that point, and I'll do that in the next segment, is it felt like you were going out punching.
Yeah.
Instead of going, it felt like you were like.
How many times have we asked Zack Taylor to put the ball in the hands of Joe
Burrow
at the end of the games? And he did.
Correct.
He did that.
It felt like you were going down swinging. As a young kid who his dad was a baseball coach and baseball basically ruled the family, I learned at a very young age that you don't strike out looking. In fact, I like telling this story to my dad. I was playing in an all-star tournament when I was like 11 years old. I hit 2 home runs, my first 2 at-bats in this tournament. My 3rd at-bat, I strike out looking. He takes me out of the game. And I was just like, Dad, come on. And he's like, what? I mean, don't go down looking. So that's where it felt like. It was at least you were going down swinging. Offense was firing all cylinders. Maybe you don't like that we're throwing it to Tanner Hudson. I think that the play developed so quickly you couldn't really get it to Jamar Chase. But when it comes to losses for this team, we can't. The excuses have surmounted to the point where we can't use them anymore. We can't. I like to generate them into thinking about this team still is not bad. Like this team still can win games. This team can be any team in the National Football League. We haven't seen it yet. They haven't beaten a good team yet, but they can. You don't get that close without being able to do it. But I'm done. I don't want to see all the Bengals fans, and I love them all to death on X that have huge followings, talk about this penalty and this penalty, that we need Joe to start flopping like Patrick Mahomes, that we need that one thing goes right or one thing goes. I'm done with it, because that's what loser teams do, loser franchises do, and we are one of those, and I don't want to be that anymore. I don't want to go down talking about refs. I don't want to go down talking about penalty or turnovers or one play here or any of that stuff. Just like 2 years ago when we were on pace for the AFC Championship game, I didn't want to talk about the gosh darn coin flip because I didn't want to worry about that. Because that's what other fans, people that are, it's loser talk. I wish there was a better way to dress that up. I don't like shoving people into that corner. It's loser talk, but that's what it feels like to me. Is people, they worry about stuff that isn't on the field. They worry about things that you can't control. And I'm done worrying about things I can't control. All you can control are the things you can't control. That's why they call it control.
I get the ref thing. But every one of us knows that the referees in the NFL are bad. It cost. You saw the no face mask call on Sam Darnold. What was it, a week ago, 2 weeks ago? And it was a crucial call the refs missed. You saw the refs miss a muffed punt in the Seahawks 49ers game that could have decided that game. Referees in the NFL are terrible. They're terrible. And officiating is a hard job. Nobody cares about the officials. Nobody's ever said a nice word about officiating. They're there is to mediate the game and try to be as objective as possible. If you're going to be good for both teams. If you're going to be bad for both teams. And eventually it all levels out. We know referees are terrible in the NFL. They're part-time employees. I understand getting mad at the referees, and every Bengals fan has a right to. When there's two blatant calls that the broadcast keeps showing replays of, and you have Alan Kirk saying, that's definitely a penalty. That's a penalty. That should have been called. And your team just loses that way. You're allowed to complain about the referees. You're 100% allowed. But make no mistake, the Bengals didn't lose that game because of officiating. They lost the game because they beat themselves up. You're up 21-7 with the football. You're up 21-7 with the football. You fumble it. Up until that fumble, I'd argue the defense was having maybe their best game of the season. Yeah. They were shutting Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense down completely. Derrick Henry, nada. Nothing. Up until that play. Once that play happened, the entirety of the game switched. I think Mark in the chat said it. That fumble, for all intents and purposes, it ended the game. It was over after that.
We all knew. We all saw the writing on the wall right when that happened.
But you can't sit here and the Bengals lost the game because of the Bengals. They didn't lose it because of the Ravens.
Correct.
And they didn't lose it because of the officials. The Bengals lost it because they beat themselves up week after week. You can blame the officials. You have every right to. Officiating in the NFL is terrible. It's been terrible for a long time. And for the life of me, I don't understand why we can't have somebody in New York come down like the MLB will do with the pitches soon, in the strike zone soon. Have somebody in the ear and say, yeah, this guy definitely grabbed onto this quarterback's face mask. You can see it clear as day in every replay.
How would you feel if I told you they have that?
And they still don't?
They're not allowed to add penalties.
Well, then something needs to be changed if you have that. If something needs to be
There's
changed.
literally someone sitting there watching the calls and saying what happens or not. That's how they have the pool reports right after the games, to let you know what calls they missed. They have them instantaneously because someone is tracking all of this to see what calls the refs get right and wrong, but they cannot add a penalty. They can only call down and take one away if it's called and it's incorrect.
That's the biggest joke I've ever heard. I think that's and that needs to be changed immediately. When you're grieving this loss, and every Bengals fan has every right to grieve how they want. Know that it was not the referees and it was not the Baltimore Ravens. It was the team, the Cincinnati Bengals roster, our kicker not being able to be trusted to make field goals. All of that has to do with it. The play calling. Everything has to. We haven't even talked about 3rd and 2, 4th and 2. Let's throw the ball as far as we possibly can. The Bengals lost this game by themselves. They are to blame 100%. You can blame the refs. You can blame whoever you want. But make no mistake, it was on Zack Taylor. It was on everybody on the Bengals, outside of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Trey Hendrickson.
I have a Zack Taylor take that I think is going to be mightily unpopular on today's show that I'll get to when we start talking about play call and all that stuff. I think it's going to be mightily unpopular. But you're absolutely right. I mean, you just simply cannot consistently blame others for losing. You can't do it. You can't blame refs. You can't blame all these extenuating circumstances. I'll say this about the fumble, the Chase Brown fumble. I think Tom tweeted it out, and he's right. He said you can't sustainably win games when your quarterback's going to drop back and pass 58 times. I think he ended up throwing 56 times. Joe did. And that's true. You look at all the teams, like when your quarterback is consistently throwing 56 times, that's not a winning recipe. You got to run the ball too. When Chase Brown fumbled the football, we tried 12 run plays, and we coughed up 2 of them. how can you, if you are a play caller, and once again, I think Chase Brown has been very, very good this season. I'm very excited. I'm very optimistic about what Chase Brown can be as the running back number 1 in Cincinnati. But if I'm Zack Taylor, if I'm the one calling plays, and in 1 in 6 times I call a play, we have a turnover-worthy play on what shouldn't be. Like, those are the safe plays, right? The run plays are the safe ones. So when you drop back that you're putting yourself in danger. If when we bring in Khalil Herbert and he coughs it up right away, if we're 21-7 and we simply just need you to hold on to the dang ball, Chase Brown, and you fumble it up, how can I trust you to run the ball? How can I be the one calling the plays and go, all right, we ran 12 run plays, and 1 in 6 are fumbles? How can you make those calls? How can you do that? And I get it that when you run the ball consistently, it's kind of a thing that, like, you get in the rhythm and you get better at it. Like, when you do anything with repetition, you get better at it. You host off the bench enough, you get better at it. But in that situation, we're throwing the ball all the time, and now we have a 14-point lead, and it's time, hey, let's take some time off the clock, and he coughs it up. That's why we're not running the ball. Quite simply, folks. That is point blank why we're not running the ball, is because we don't have faith in it. We don't have faith in getting the 1 yard. We don't have faith in controlling the clock. It's almost like running the ball is our gadget plays, right? Like, it's almost like we have no faith in that. And to be frank, that's what I've asked for, knowing that we have the best quarterback in franchise history. And yes, Joe Burrow is the best quarterback that the Bengals have had. I didn't see Boomer or Ken Anderson play, so apologies if those that had seen him think they're better. He's better than Andy. He's better than Carson. In an era where the quarterbacks they don't want to talk about it, but this is the best quarterback talent the National Football League has ever seen. Joe Burrow is the 4th best quarterback, or top 4, depending on where you want to put him. He's the best quarterback in franchise. Yes, so I want to get the ball to him as frequently as possible. But that's why we can't run the ball. Simple as that. We'll cough it up. I have no faith in it. If you are a decision maker, a lot of you guys are watching this while you're at work, if you have people underneath you, if you've got employees or people that report to you, and you task those people underneath you with doing a job, and in 1 in 6 opportunities, they not only don't do the job, they mess it up so bad that it ruins the whole game. How can you continue to ask them to do the job? And there's sometimes you just got to learn with it and roll with it. But Chase, once again, this isn't me ripping Chase Brown. I know it seems like it. I know he's getting strays, and I'm talking about how can we trust running the ball when he fumbles the ball. But that's simple as that. That's why Joe Burrow drops back 56 times. And also, that was part of the game plan. The Ravens secondary stinks. It stinks. So yeah, the game plan was always to throw the ball quite a bit. But that's why we can't run the ball. That's why we can't. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to talk about play call. We're going to talk about 2-point conversion. We're going to talk about the 3rd and 2nd, 4th and 2. We're going to talk about the decision to punt the ball in lieu of making a 57 or attempting a 57-yard field goal. All that stuff to where we really are we're going to narrow down Zack Taylor and the decisions that he made yesterday. And I'm going to give a take that is going to be maybe the most unpopular Bengals take that I've ever had on this show when we come back on 1410 Wing AM Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Catching up on the chat. A lot of people like that last one, but I don't know what else to say. Like if you fumble the ball 2 times in 12 attempts, and when you're throwing the ball and lighting it up like a Christmas tree, it's pretty simple what you decide to do from that point forward. It's pretty simple.
I have no issue with throwing the ball. I have issue with throwing the ball 45 yards downfield.
Okay, so let's do that.
You can I'm not going to
So
say.
this is I'll start it off, and I'll let you do this.
Okay.
I'll let you talk about the third and second. I'll start it off with what might be my most unpopular Bengals take that I maybe have ever had on this show, and it's what have we heard for now 4 years about Zack Taylor and the most consistent complaint that we have. By the way, this is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers back on 1410 Wing AM Marine Mouse. Filling in for Justin Kenner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing in the room. The most consistent complaint when it comes to Zack Taylor, and I'll admit, I had defended Zack Taylor tooth and nail for years now, and I'm growing thin on that defense. I'm growing thin. In fact, even when I was defending him, I said he's the fourth best coach in this division. That's abundantly true. I don't think you get to a Super Bowl and an AFC championship by circumstance. And I know I want to give more credit to Joe, but I think Zach, what he's built, they clearly enjoy playing for him. But the most consistent complaint when it comes to Zack Taylor, and it's the most consistent complaint pretty much across all NFL teams, is the play call. The play call sucks. What's this play call? I hate this play call. And I've often had gripes with that because I think that when you complain about a play call, it's all based on what you like, what happens, right? When you run a trick play and you get 40 yards, you're a genius. When you run a trick play and it gets nothing, what an idiot. We're morons. It's the same play. It's the results. Take, for instance, the 4th and inches last night when we have Tanner Hudson run a QB sneak. I think, and also this is coming off it working, I think that's a genius play. Tanner Hudson played quarterback in college under center. We've seen other teams do this. I think Travis Kelce and the Chiefs do that play. I thought that was great. Even if it didn't work out, it was great. But I can tell you right now that if it didn't work out, that would be one of the points of contention today. So the unpopular take about Zack Taylor is this. When for 4 years, all we hear about is how Zack Taylor has terrible play call, right? And why did we have those complaints? Because it felt like our offense might have been underachieving. With Joe Burrow, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, and T. Higgins, even though for the last 3 years the Bengals have had a top 10 offense, I think in the Super Bowl and the AFC Champion, they were top 5 offenses. It still felt like they were underachieving. It wasn't always firing in all cylinders. Now, what are the Bengals? Second most. I know the rest of the teams haven't played this week. They've scored probably the second most points in the league, or dang near it. Averaging close to 30 points a game. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are having their career years. How can we sit here and say that Zack Taylor's doing a terrible job play calling? How can we do that when the offense is finally bringing the output that we had so desperately been clamming for 3 years? We can't do that. This offense is doing the best it's ever done. So how are we going to criticize play call at this moment? Yes, 3rd and 2, 4th and 2, I sat in champions in a catcher stance because I was sitting there thinking, what the hell was that? That's not the right call for there. They clearly saw something in the Ravens defense because I don't know if you guys recognize this, but after the 3rd and 2nd was incomplete, after the 4th and 2nd was incomplete, the Bengals get the ball back, and what's the first play they try? Another deep ball. And guess what happened? Touchdown Jamar Chase, 70 yards. So they clearly saw something, and it worked out 1 in 3 times. But you're right. At that moment where we're chunking passes, 5 yards here, 5 yards there, 15 yards, why are we trying the deep ball? I don't mind doing it on 3rd down, but we can't do it back to back. And I've always been of the opinion, and I know I just said, how can you run the ball when you turn it around? I've always been of the opinion, if the idea is you're going to go on 4th anyways, let's run the ball on 3rd. Hindsight being 2020, maybe we should have done that. But the take is this, is in 4 years where all we do is criticize Zack Taylor and his play call, let's give him credit when the offense is one of the best in the league. When the offense is consistently putting up 35 points a game. When Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are putting up career years, let's give credit to the guy calling the plays too. If we're going to disparage him when it's not getting the output that you so desire, let's give him credit when it is. Now, there are other issues with Zack Taylor, and I'm not saying that he's definitely should be the coach next year. I think he will be. I don't think there's any chance, really, unless this whole season goes off the rails for the rest of the year, we don't win another game, I don't think there's a chance in which Zack Taylor's not the head coach next year. There's about 15 other head coaches that I'd want, but I'm going to give him credit as a play caller because this offense is firing on all cylinders. But 3rd and 2nd, 4th and 2, maybe not the best time to take deep balls.
I would agree. You guys know my stance on Zack Taylor. The NFL this season, when scoring 33 points, 38-1. The Bengals, when scoring 33 points, 2-3. I'm not even going to sit here and make fun of the play calls that Zack Taylor has. That's not what I'm going to do. And I saw people tweeting at me last night, Zack only coaches the offense. He doesn't touch the defense. Okay, well, he's a head coach, so maybe you should work on the other half of the field as well. You can't just coach the offense. It's great that the offense looks great. It should look great. You have a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, and you have the best wide receiver in the sport. It should look good. It should. You don't win games. They're not winning games. They're 4-6. They're 4-6, and you just said it. We're having the best offensive performances out of our quarterback and number 1 wide receiver that maybe we've ever seen in Cincinnati. We've never had 2 guys be this. And Zack Taylor is still losing games. He's the face of the team. He's the head coach.
Right.
If the same way David Bell got fired for the Reds, at some point it's not working, guess what? Expectations in the NFL and MLB and Major League Baseball, vastly different. If you have a quarterback, it is win right now. And he is not winning right now. This schedule is too damn easy to come away without a postseason appearance. It's too easy. You are 4-6. That is on somebody. And I'm not going to blame Joe Burrow. There's some people out there that still blame Joe Burrow for this. Oh, good quarterbacks win games.
They need
good quarterbacks put up 40 a game and have unlimited touchdowns and can find their number 1 wide receiver at will. That's what good quarterbacks do. And Joe Burrow has done everything he could. Hearing him in the post-game press conference last night, I think it's as low as he's probably been as a Cincinnati Bengal. He basically said, and I'm gonna quote it, not exactly, paraphrase it. He basically said, "It's hard to believe, it's hard to fathom, it's hard to swallow. As good of a season that I'm having, as Jamar Chase is having, and as Trey Hendrickson's having, we're still dealing with all these problems, and that they're 4-6. It's a brutal pill to swallow because it's inexcusable." Sure, does Zack Taylor get some credit? Hell yeah, he does. He's a part of the reason that we all love the Cincinnati Bengals more than ever right now. He took the team to a Super Bowl. He gets credit for that. But guess what? Expectations, things change. We are expected to win the Super Bowl. You're expected to make the AFC Championship game. And God willing, you're expected to win at least 9-10 games a season with the quarterback that you have. And if he doesn't do it this year, there's no excuse. There's none. There's no excuse for Zack Taylor to be here anymore. He fails. And you have Joe Burrow, and there's no reason to fail. Will he be here? Probably. It's because it's the Bengal way. It's the Bengal way. It's how they've always done it. That's what they do. That's fine. But there's no coach in the NFL that would have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and not be at least 500 at this very second. There's no coach. Every coach is able to do it, except for Zack Taylor. It's on somebody. If you want to say he gets credit for the offense, great. Well, then who the hell is to blame for the defense? We can only blame Lou? Are we going to only blame Lou?
The front office is to blame for the defense.
I agree. I agree the front office is to blame for the defense. I agree. I think Duke Tobin should be number 1. But Zack Taylor is damn near close to number 2.
Listen, I don't want to get it twisted, and I'll let Jacob go here in a second. I don't want to get it twisted that I'm like saying that Zack Taylor's doing some unbelievable job as the head coach of this team. I'm just saying in 4 years in a row where we're talking about play call, and the offense is finally putting up near 30 points a game, let's give credit to the play caller. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Correct. He's the head coach, and when you're 4-6 with the record, with the schedule that the Bengals have played, and with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, that's not good, and the onus should fall on someone. I'm just giving credit to a small portion of what Zack Taylor does, which is call the offensive plays, and they're putting up 30 points a game. Jacob, I don't know if you have an opinion on, because me and Elliot have been talking a lot through the show. I don't know if you have an opinion, and I know you talked a lot last night about, I guess, Zack Taylor, because I guess that's where we're at. Once again, we didn't plan anything for this show. We're just free forming it. I don't know if you have an opinion on where you're at with that.
I think people need to be much more clear when they complain about Zack Taylor.
That's a good point.
When people complain about Zack Taylor, they complain about the play calling. This is a historically good offense.
Right.
If you're going to complain about Zack Taylor not taking control of the defense, not taking control of the roster, not being vocal enough with the front office about what he needs to improve the team, or whether the front office isn't listening to him, we don't know. Have those complaints with Zack Taylor. The fact that every single time I see people complaining about Zack Taylor, it's about the offense, I don't get it.
Right.
Who do we want? Who do the Bengals fans all want to be the next head coach? Ben Johnson. What's he doing in Detroit? Calling plays for an offense that scores every single week. What's Zack Taylor doing right now? Calling plays for an offense that scores every single week. Any coach that we want to hire is going to be an offensive mind, is going to be an offensive coordinator, and is probably going to be a guy who hasn't been a head coach yet in his career. We don't know that he can all of a sudden call a defense or be a head coach. How many times have we seen great coordinators go somewhere and it doesn't work out?
Right.
That happens all the time. And maybe that's why Ben Johnson's still in Detroit. We don't know how these interviews have all gone. I wouldn't be so quick to pull the trigger on Zack Taylor. I know everyone's sick of him. But he's calling a good offense, an offense that's putting up good numbers at a historic pace for a quarterback and a wide receiver. You need to figure out the defense. And I don't think it's Lou's fault. People want to fire Lou. They're saying he's not doing a good enough job.
Lou's going to be fired. He's going to be the scapegoat.
He's the
of all
scapegoat,
this.
absolutely no question about it. I said that a couple weeks ago. I think it's already Lou's the scapegoat. You bring in a new DC. If that doesn't work, Zach's fired after 25. I think that's the quickest we can get Zack out of here, if that's really what the fans and everyone else wants. I don't think it's Lou's fault at all. We have two safeties that can't play football. Von Bell and Geno Stone can't play football. And Sheldon Rankins hasn't gotten pressure in 4 weeks. So I don't know what more the team can do. Because if Zack Taylor goes to the front office in the offseason and he goes, we need safety help, we need an interior pass rush. And the front office goes, okay, we'll go get that. And they go get you Geno Stone, Von Bell, and Sheldon Rankins, and those three players suck.
Right.
What do you want them to do? And then it goes back to whether the Bengals are unwilling to trade for talent in the middle of the season for proven players. If you're going to swing and miss in the draft and in free agency, you have to be willing to adapt on the fly and go fill those holes with trades with late-round picks in the middle of the season, which is what championship teams do. The Steelers had an injury at edge rusher. They have Alex Highsmith and T.J. Watt. They're fine rushing the passer. But Alex Highsmith has missed games this year. So what'd they do at the trade deadline? They went and got Preston Smith. That's what championship teams do. You fill your holes in the middle of the season because you don't know what your holes are in the offseason.
Right.
You don't know how new pieces are going to mesh together. The Bengals tried to fill a lot of their holes, and it didn't work. And now they're unwilling to make changes in the middle of the season. The only change we made is a guy who held a water cup all day last night. He didn't do anything but fumble his first handoff of the game. Would an interior pass rusher made a difference? I think so. An edge rusher made a difference? Probably. The Bengals have to be willing to change the way they operate, and it's going to come down to trading for in-season, which that's obviously already passed this season. So the next point for them is you're going to have to change how you do contracts because you're going to have to guarantee some money to lock down the best receiver in football in Jamar Chase. We saw it again last night.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. I mean, and we all know that Jamar Chase has to be here long term, and you got to get it done sooner rather than later. One thing that you just said right there is the Bengals got to change completely how they operate. And the biggest change that they need to do, and you look at all these teams, like no one's hiding how the Patriots won for 2 decades. No one's hiding how the Chiefs are maybe going to be the first 3-peat team in NFL history. No one's hiding how the Lions have become how they have. It's pretty simple. You got to work in the draft. You got to hit in the draft. And when the Bengals have the worst scouting department in the NFL, and that's not my opinion.
They were at a game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. There's tweets, go look this up. There's tweets that like point out what NFL scouts are at college football games. There's always one team missing, Cincinnati Bengals. Because guess what?
Been to 3 total games this year.
Because guess what? Because of how cheap the organization is, they don't pay scouts. They ask the coaching to do the scouts. I don't know if you realize what's going on in the NFL, but they've got to coach a team. Not a whole lot of time to also go out on a Saturday.
Well, at least the seasons don't overlap.
Right. It's not a whole lot of time to go to Athens, Georgia on a Saturday and watch some pigskin when you got to be in Los Angeles on Sunday. Simple as that. That's point blank. And I'm tired. I'm so freaking tired of hearing about the players that we didn't re-sign. I'm so tired. I will be willing to admit, because I've long said about the whole Jesse Bates thing. I've long said that was the right decision because I still don't think you can pay a safety $18 million a year or whatever he is, because that's not how good teams operate. I'll point this. Casey gave me this opinion. I'm not in favor of letting elite talent walk out the door. When he put it like that, okay. But I've said if you put Prime Ed Reed and Champ Bailey on this team, this defense still isn't any good because we're not getting to the dang quarterback. And other than Jesse Bates, I'll give you Jesse Bates. What other players have the Bengals let go that are just flourishing that we aren't still doing pretty well in? Is DJ Reader playing any good in Detroit?
DJ Reader's not really playing in
Correct.
Detroit.
All right, Von Bell, that we let go of 2 years ago. It's going to be a dark day. Oh, we got him on a veteran minimum.
Lost Samaje Perine as well.
Yeah, what's he doing?
Actually.
What's Hayden Hurst doing?
I don't.
What's CJ Uzama doing? What's Tyler Boyd doing? What's Larry Ogunjobi doing? But the point is, if you look at it, and Joe Mixon's the other one. Everyone always brings up Joe Mixon. I mean, if we kept Joe Mixon.
Let's wait till the end of the contract.
Right. Let's wait. He looks great. There's no doubt about it. Chase Brown looks pretty good too. I don't think there's any buyer's remorse on either side of that. So I mean, we can talk about all the players that they let go and all the players that they get. I think the front office, in terms of letting players go, letting players walk out the door, batting at a pretty high clip. It's the players that are coming in the door that they're swinging and missing on. They got rid of DJ Reader because he's 31 years old and coming off a terrible injury, and for that reason he can't get on the field. We walked away from Von Bell. 1 year later, he walks in the door on a veteran minimum. Have you heard the names Awuzie in a while? What about Eli Apple? You heard those names in a while in the NFL? You watch a lot of NFL games. We're doing great. We're doing just fine letting people walk out the door. When T. Higgins plays next year for a team, because he's not going to play here in Cincinnati, I'm telling you right now, he's going to have a game where he goes for 170 yards. We can't look at it and go like, oh, we made the wrong decision then. We're doing fine on the guys that are walking out the door. It's the guys we're bringing in that we're just doing terrible on. We got to go to break. I don't know what we're going to talk about in the next segment, but I'm sure it'll be Cincinnati Bengals related. We'll be right back on 1410 Wing AM. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Welcome back to Off the Bench. Fred M says, it's not that, Reed. You have to replace production. They haven't at all. Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. But the players that they walked aren't flourishing other than Jesse Bates. Heck, even Joe Mixon. We can talk about Joe Mixon. He missed 4 games. You're going to pay a running back that misses a fourth of the season? I mean, if you're going to pay a guy some money, you better be there all 17 games. That's the old thing with T. Higgins. If T. Higgins played 17 games, it's honestly a no-brainer on whether you keep him or not. But we know he's not going to play 17 games. We're lucky to get 12 out of him. 11. Someone will pay him $30 million, $25 million. We can't. With a cheap franchise that we are, give $25 million for a guy that plays 10 games. I said this on the show last night when it comes to T. Higgins, that if we somehow work out in this era of the NFL contracts where everything's guaranteed, thanks Browns and the Deshaun Watson contract, you broke it. You broke the dang NFL. It's good for the players, though. If we can somehow structure a deal to where, hey, T, we'll give you $30 million if you play 17 games. And you get 10 if you play less than 13 or 12 or something like that. 15 if you play less than 12.
Sign me up.
Yeah. You know what? If we sign a deal that's just you get $2 million or $1.75 million for every game you play, for every game you catch a pass.
Clock hits zeros. It's instant deposit.
Right. It's done. Done deal. But we can't do that because it's guaranteed contracts. So that's where we're at right now.
I will say, and I'm going to kind of segue away from this, if that's all right.
There's no control of this show.
It goes back to kind of what you were saying very early on. When we're talking, and I'm trying to be more positive, I'm going to try to be positive. I wasn't positive on the Bengals show before that game, and maybe I jinxed them. I don't know.
You had about 10 segments. I think 9 of them were negative.
I think they were all negative, but that's okay. You just got to talk about something. The Bengals, I walked away from that game yesterday, like Reed. It sucks. It's gut-wrenching. It's a knife to the heart week after week. I walked away from that game feeling better about the Bengals.
Isn't that wild?
Than I did, like, against the Giants. Like, that loss yesterday feels so much better than the win against the Giants. I felt so much worse after that game than any game this season. It's such a funny league. And I keep saying, I think 3 weeks ago I said, the Bengals team just isn't good. We know who they are. They're not good. The Bengals have pieces, have glimmers of that 2021 team. Glimmers. They have little sparks that ignite at various points in these games where you see it and you're like, we know we're there. We know we can get there. Like, there's some franchises out there. Like, you look at the Giants, you look at the Jets. At no point during any part of their season, in any game, do they say, yeah, this is a team I can believe in.
I think Jets fans have said that this year.
Maybe. They're dead from the jump. A lot of franchises are dead from the jump. Usually teams with a 4-6 record, you don't feel a lot of optimism. When you have players like the Bengals have, and I'm talking about the 3 big ones, you have a chance to still win games, no matter what the rest of the team is. Because there are a hell of a lot of question marks right now. I think there was a point during yesterday's game where they were so out on, and I know it was situational, and maybe you don't kick field goals on 4th and short, 3rd and short. You don't line them up for 58-yard field goals. But our kicker is not trustworthy anymore. He's not. I love Evan McPherson. I thank him very much for what he's done. But I do think that's playing a role into this offense right now. I think they're far more aggressive. I think they've learned a lesson. And I go down the lineup. We don't have T. Higgins. We don't have T. Higgins at all. Our running backs are fine. Chase Brown's fine. I love him. I love him to catch passes. Like Reed said, he's a new Austin Eckler. Love that. But I'm not expecting Chase Brown to run for 100 yards every game or get anywhere near close to it. I think Mike Gesicki in the tight end group, the ability and to Joe Burrow to find all, and I'm going to say this with love and respect, all the scrubs that we have, him able to find them in big moments, that's commendable. The defense yesterday was, I thought they played damn good, man. I thought they were there for the first 85% of the game.
You don't quit on a Tylan Wallace play, you might be talking about a really good game.
That's what I'm saying,
Those
dude.
plays are equaled out, though.
It's there. There's sparks, and the team is there.
Quit on that play.
Oh.
They're 4-6 right now, and they're 2 spots out of a playoff spot. The Denver Broncos are 5-4, and they hold the 7th seed. Nobody in America, nobody in Europe, nobody in any part of this world thinks the Denver Broncos are good. They have 5 wins, though, so you have to sit back and watch it. They have a winning record. The team ahead of the Bengals, other than that, is the Indianapolis Colts,
who I don't think is very good.
Who stink. They don't have a quarterback, and the one they do have, they bench him because they drafted him. He was 50% in college, he's 50% in the NFL, and they're shocked by it. That's what's going on in the NFL right now. So if you're saying season's over, the season's over. The season isn't over. I'm not even talking mathematically. The season's still on because you have, we always say the water finds its level. Water finds its level when you lose like this every single week. Historic losses. Losses that no other franchise, no other team in the sport has ever seen before. We've had 3 of them this year. The Bengals are going to find their way out of this. I'm not going to say they're going to be a bona fide playoff team, but Reed's 100% right. If the Bengals do make the playoffs, there is not one team in this entire league, maybe the Lions. There is not one team in the AFC that wants to see the Cincinnati Bengals. Not one.
I think you got to rephrase that. People got to rephrase that. Everyone wants to see the Cincinnati Bengals. They don't want to see Joe Burrow. Every single team wants to play this defense. It's the easiest defense to score on in the league. I think you'd absolutely rather play the Bengals defense than the Broncos defense, no question about it, or the Jets defense.
No, because but
Does
that's
Joe Burrow play for the Cincinnati Bengals?
But that's what I'm saying. They're not scared of the Bengals.
Are those things
They're scared
the
of one guy.
Okay, well that's fair. That's fair, but they're one and the same. I mean, you play for the Bengals. Yes, you're right. They're scared of our offense.
I
They're
think you
scared
get
of
what I'm trying to say.
But yeah, if you're a home team, if you're gonna get a home playoff game and you're welcoming in the 7 seed, and it's like the options are between Joe Flacco's Colts, Bo Nix's Broncos.
Right. You're picking anyone else, but it's strictly because of the
I
quarterback.
might pick us over Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert, but that's neither.
We'll see how Sunday goes.
Right.
must win. Every game's a must win now.
Well, every game is a must-win now. Hey, we were doing that for about 7 weeks. It was refreshing. It was the first game that it wasn't really a must-win.
This was kind of a can't lose though, and we did.
This is maybe the toughest stretch of the season. You have the Ravens on Thursday night. You have the the Chargers on Sunday night, a bye, and then the Steelers out of the bye. This is a brutal 3-week stretch. If you go 2-1, if you beat the Chargers and the Steelers, no harm, no foul. My issue right now,
if you go 2-1, you have to win the rest of your games.
What do you mean? Because they already have the one, so if they win the next 2, you don't have to win the next.
Oh, I thought you were saying Chargers, Steelers, Cowboys.
No. I was talking about the Ravens. This stretch here, if you go 2-1, if you survive at 2-1, win the next 2, you really haven't. You still haven't lost any ground in this league. The Broncos are going to find their level. They're going to finish with 7 wins.
How alive we are comes down to who we beat on the back end of this schedule. If we beat the Chargers and the Broncos, we're in a really good spot.
Yeah.
Because those are the 2 teams ahead of us. The other thing that Craig brought up last night on the postgame show, are we entirely sure we can't catch the Steelers? If we take care of business against them.
Yeah, if we beat them twice.
That's 2 losses from the Bengals. They play the Ravens twice. They also play the Chiefs and the Eagles.
We're gonna play 4 games against. We're gonna play 4 games against wild card teams, with 7 games left. We're gonna play 4 games against wild card teams. 2 against the Steelers, 1 against the Broncos, 1 against the Chargers. Yep. Those are all wild card teams. So, I mean, you kind of control it. But, it's so far back. And I'm at the point, and I'm always this way kind of, where I did this after we beat the Raiders with Jacob, where I'm like, we got to win. We play the Titans. We play the Browns. Split with the Steelers. I do that game where you're starting to try and count up wins. But I don't know. I don't know, guys. I do like we talk about Zach, and we always want to talk about Zach, and it's rightfully so because the onus has to fall on somebody. And I'm not married to Zach or anything like that. But the next 2 games that are incredibly crucial if you want to do anything with this season, you got to get back to 6-6. You play 2 wild card teams in the Steelers, and you play because I think the Steelers are going to win the division. They're gonna be a wild card team. And the Chargers, you get more time on both those games. You get the mini bye or whatever you want to call it. You get extra time to plan for the Chargers. You get 10 days to plan for the Chargers. Then we go to a bye, and then we play the Steelers. So we're playing back-to-back games against very crucial teams that we got to beat, and we get extended time to rest, make sure everyone's healthy, plan, and win those games. So maybe that's not worth a whole lot. It's worth something. So I don't know. I don't know where, and those are both really good coaches, Jim Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin. So it's an opportunity. Every game's an opportunity. Man, I wish we would have just won last night so we could have a lot better things to talk about. I did leave here going, man, this team might not be as bad as I thought they were 2 weeks ago when they were winning, when they won 4 out of 5 games. But a couple games looked ugly. There's one thing I did want to say, and Elliot, you brought this up, that we keep having these historic losses. And it goes to the emotion that we felt after that historic loss that we just experienced last night. And I said, I felt a little bit better about it. And this isn't a good thing, what I'm about to say. Is we are starting to feel comfortable with those losses. We are starting to bake it into our fandom. We are starting to go this is just kind of what happens with us. As we're leading by 10 in the fourth quarter. Oh, we got Patrick Mahomes on 4th and 16. Oh, we are up 21-7 on the road in Baltimore. It's good. We lose, but it's just the Bengals. Everyone wants to discredit the Kansas City Chiefs. And I understand why. They haven't dominated any game, but they are back-to-back Super Bowl champs. They do have what I think is the best quarterback in the league, maybe the best quarterback of all time. And no, he's not putting up great numbers. Every single week they go out there and they win the game, and it's because they feel comfortable. They feel comfortable in those ugly games. They feel it's 17-14, and they just know, even though they're down 3, they're going to walk out and they're going to win. They got that confidence. They are comfortable in those situations. And us as fans, us as the Bengals, we're starting to feel comfortable in we're gonna give up a 10-point lead in the second half. We're gonna give up a 14-point lead in the second half because that's who we are. That's what we do, and that's what's scary. Elliott is also right, and if you believe in statistics and averages, all those things kind of even out. Talk about that in MLB all the time. One-run games. I think the Marlins made the postseason 2 years ago. They were something like 30-8 in one-run games. What happened? The next year they have a historically bad season. And they were historically bad in one-run games. When you're losing on field goals, maybe we're just, after winning on field goals in those Super Bowl runs and winning close in the AFC, you said they looked bad over that 10-game win stretch because they won every game close. Maybe we're just on the other end of that, where it's all leveling out. We're all getting to the same spot. And the pendulum will swing back the other way. Maybe that's where we're at. Man, my throat is starting to hurt.
Mine's I need like a Mentos or whatever those things
I'm
are
in a
called.
great spot over here.
You're in a good spot?
I'm not.
Oh, you're not in a good spot. No, it's bad. By the way, and just real quick, I don't mean to keep talking about the playoffs because the Bengals.
I really don't want to talk about that.
I know, but I just want to say the Broncos are 5-4. They have the last seed. They play the Chiefs this weekend.
I don't like how out you are on the Broncos.
The Colts are 4-5. They play the Bills this weekend. Those are the only two teams ahead of the Bengals. Below that are the Jets, and after that, it's literally nothing. So those are the teams. 9 wins is going to get you into the postseason this season.
If you beat
the Broncos and the Chargers. 9 wins gets you in, for the record. I'm not an optimistic person, and I'm not an
9 and win with the
guy,
tiebreaker too.
But
right,
it's,
that's right.
Yeah, so you got to beat the Chargers.
You
and
have to
Broncos.
beat the Chargers and the Broncos.
you have to beat the Chargers and the Broncos.
Broncos are going to win 9 games.
They might win 8. I think they might win 8.
So easy. I
Wild
also
card-
think you're not. That defense is going to win them some games that Bo Nix doesn't play well in. That defense is really, really good.
Yeah. You want to know how good it is? I'll tell you right now. Guess how many
Can you
points?
read that Ravens score? That's
No. Guess how many points our beloved Cincinnati Bengals are giving up per game?
Probably 20. Now it's probably 28.
27.
Okay.
Oh, that's how much we're scoring. My bad. Give me a second.
Well, it's the other number's going to be the same thing. It's going to be.
Yeah, it's the same. It's minus. We're allowing 5 more points than we score.
Yeah.
All right. So guess how many the Bengals are scoring up? They're giving up 26.2. That's how many points we're averaging giving up per game. Guess how many points per game the Broncos are giving up? Those 3 teams that we
21.
are vying for with the postseason,
21.
by the way, are the 3 best scoring defenses in the league. The Chargers are giving up 12 points a game.
Yeah.
The Broncos are giving up 17 points a game, and the Steelers are giving up 15 points a game.
Broncos are 5th best in the league in terms of yards per game. Under 300 yards per game allowed.
And I don't want to do that. I want to talk about the postseason. We'll get to that
I may or may not
starting
take the
next
Broncos
week.
to make the
There's time to talk about the postseason. There is time to talk about that if we get down the road. Like we'll talk about how important the Chargers game is next Sunday. This is more of a chance to reflect on last night's loss.
I think this is officially, this Sunday, whenever we do end up turning the page from this Ravens game to the Chargers game, I think this Chargers game is officially the playoff picture or start building your draft board game. If you lose this one, you start looking at some prospects. If you win, I'm starting to root against who the Broncos are playing and watch other scoreboards and check the In the Hunt graphic. I'd bookmark the playoff machine, try to figure out what we need to move up a little bit. You're a big playoff machine guy?
I use Pro Football Network's playoff machine. I had like
Ooh.
30. I had like 30
You
minutes.
shopped around?
I had 30 minutes to spare, and they had this playoff machine, and they have a simulation button. And this was before the Ravens game, and I had like 30 minutes where I had to play on this. I ran that simulation 20 times. Guess how many times the Bengals got in the postseason?
Not a lot.
Big old goose egg.
No! Oh, no.
Not a single time. And sometimes like it would like show you the wins and it'd be like, oh, we beat the Ravens, get to 5-5, finish 6-11.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh my goodness.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah,
no.
I didn't care for that. But
No.
I mean, it is what it is. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll clean up any last things that we want to talk about the Ravens game. I don't think we truly talked about like certain like the
We didn't talk
the
about
option to punt.
We didn't do the good doing for two yet.
Going for two. So we'll do that in the final segment here for radio. Thank you for listening to the radio. If you want to join us on YouTube, it's on Chatterbox Sports. Get on YouTube, search Chatterbox Sports. You can join the chat. I'm Reed Mouse filling in for Justin Kenner, Jacob Tissett on the keys, and Elliot Rearing bringing us good vibes as he normally does.
Is that what that is?
He normally does. We'll be right back on 1410 Wing AM.
What is that stupid face?
We are back here on 1410 Wing AM. Like sometimes when we come back from break, I'm like, should I do a bit? Should I come back on a bit? And Elliot saw the gears in my head doing it, and he started giggling because he's like, I think he's going to do a bit.
He's going to do a bit.
And then once he laughed, I didn't have a bit ready, so it was just going to be like firing from the hip. But I didn't do a bit.
Reed's bits were fun last night, Jacob.
Were they?
It was similar to when Paul Frischner goes to the casino.
Okay.
He turns into a big old clown, and I like that.
Paul Frischner at the casino, man. I mean, now that the segment's already off the rails, it's a creature.
It's a creature,
It's
man.
a creature.
I was
I have too much fun at Bengals games, but I've got a Paul at the casino. We'll do that on the YouTube. Put a pin in that.
Put a pin in that.
Put a pin in the Paul casino story. We'll do that for YouTube.
So I was there. All my buddies were at the table next to us. I was sitting with Nate, Mike, Reed at the table right by him. And Reed's I don't know what Reed was doing. I really don't even know what he was doing. But all my friends at the table next to him, they all just start bursting out laughing. They all turn around. And at Reed, I was like, usually I'm the clown, but now Reed's stolen my mantle.
There was one moment where they collectively said out loud and started cheering like commands. Like I forget what the situation was, but it was like they were like, "Don't run the ball! Don't run the ball! Don't run the ball! Don't run the ball!" And like 2 seconds passed, and I was like, "Run the ball, Zach!" And it was just the complete opposite of what they said. And it was very fun, but there was a lot of decisions. So when it came to the 2-point conversion, I think I was alone at Champions Girls. So we score the touchdown. Everyone's cheering. Everyone's high-fiving. And immediately there was a hush that fell over the bar because they put the camera on Zach, and Zach's put his horns up. And he wasn't rooting for the Texas Longhorns. He was saying, let's go for 2. And right when we scored, I said, let's go for 2. And Elliot's like, no, absolutely not. And the reason I wanted to go for 2 was for the exact reason I said earlier on the show, is I wanted to go out punching. It felt like we were taking control instead of letting things happen to us. It felt like, hey, if we're going to lose this game, it's going to be on us. I'm tired of letting refs or letting or all ththese extenuating circumstances lose the game for us. Let's go out. And of course, the play happens, and there's those penalties that didn't get called, and it ended up not going out on our own onus. But at that moment, I was good for it. Elliot, you very clearly were not wanting them to go for 2. Why was that?
I think that for me, it's all about like how you feel in the moment, and people are going to take it different ways. I think you have the momentum. You survive a first down on a play call or on a spot that nobody really knew if it was a first down or not. We all believed it was, at least at the bar. But, it could have gone either way. That was a 50-50 call. You march down the field. You get a couple penalties. And it was a pretty clinical drive. I would say. I don't know how many seconds came off the clock from we got the ball, but I would say it was about a minute. We drove down there in a minute and scored with relative ease. The defense couldn't get a stop at that point, and that was very clear. It was so effortless for the Baltimore Ravens to march down the field. My thought was, if you kick the extra point here or go for two, no matter what really happens, they can still go down in 4 seconds and kick a field goal with Justin Tucker. And Justin Tucker winning that game on a 65-yard field goal would have killed me. But that was still in play. There was 45 seconds left. The Ravens were driving at will no matter what. My thought was, you take your momentum, you kick the extra point, pray for a stop, because you needed a stop either way. No matter what, you needed a stop. And if you get to overtime, it all comes down to a coin toss. And I'll take a 50-50 coin toss with 4 downs per set, right? And the Bengals would have won that game. The Bengals, if they got to overtime and got the ball first, would have gone down and scored a touchdown. I have no doubt in my mind. There's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of buts. I understand that. I get all that. And I understand everybody wanting to go for two. You're on the road. You just drove down, scored a touchdown. You're going to keep the ball in Joe Burrow's hands. It's what I've personally asked for. Keep the ball in your quarterback's hands. It was just in that specific moment, I would have taken my extra point and I would have banked on a coin toss. But that's what I would have done.
I think there was a quote from Jacob. I didn't watch the video, but he's like, "I'd rather it be Joe Burrow than Mr. Washington."
Yeah,
like I'd rather put the ball in Joe Washington.
Statistically speaking,
right.
You have a 50-50 chance both ways. 2-point plays are 50-50. Coin flips 50-50. I think we all agree that if Lamar Jackson wins that coin flip, the Bengals are losing the game.
100%.
No question in anyone's mind. If the Bengals don't get the 2-point conversion, they're losing the game. You just eliminated the chance of not having the opportunity to score by going for two. You kept the... What have we begged Zack Taylor to do for years? When the game's on the line, put the ball in Joe Burrow's hands.
Correct.
He finally does it with a chance to win in Baltimore, a game that we all know would have put our season back on track if you convert that 2-point conversion and can hold for 35 seconds and get a stop.
Right.
He went out swinging. He put the ball in our best player's hands. What did you say at the end of the first Ravens game, Elliot? You're paying Joe Burrow $55 million and you're going to rely on a kicker?
100%.
You're paying Joe Burrow $55 million. You're going to rely on a quarter?
Yeah.
I'm 100% fine with going for two. I said it in the time. It's what you had to do because of what the defense has given you so far today. You gave yourself a chance. And then we can nitpick the play call if we want. I don't think Tanner Hudson was the first read. We'll know more when we get into the All-22 and a lot of the film. Alex Kappa was in Joe Burrow's lap.
That's the point. Is like
the only receiver he could have gotten the ball to.
Right. I think that the play was never to go to Tanner Hudson. In fact, he's probably the third read.
Right.
He's probably the third.
Two.
And you could watch Joe Burrow's head never go left towards Jamar. But the reason that was is he saw the pressure immediately and he's like, all right, I gotta get rid of this.
Yeah.
So Gesicki, no, all right, throw it to Tanner. So that's what happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, and then I see people begging for the run the ball from the two to get the two. What are we talking about there? That camp I don't understand at all.
No, you can't do
If you're going to go for two, you put the ball in Joe Burrow's hands and hope something goes well.
If you run the ball there and they don't get it, that would have been the worst. Like you talk about play calls, like wrong play calls, and you have situations in the game, 3rd and 2, 4th and 2, where you're not running the ball. But on the biggest moment of the game, you're going to go run the ball on a 2-point try.
He had 8 carries on the first drive, and he ended with 13.
It's wild. Absurd, though. It would be absurd. Throwing the ball was the right call. Jamar Chase not being that go-to guy right off the rip. Again, you guys are saying that he didn't have enough time, and that's 100% true.
The only thing that he could have done for Jamar was toss it up in the back of the end zone.
But I thought before they called the timeout, Jamar had a one-on-one.
He still had a one-on-one when they came out.
With the same exact look both times.
I look back at it and I'm like, you drive down there, you did all you could. And all we had to do was just make that extra point and maybe have a chance. I understand that. I understand the analytics. I do. And I'm not going to sit here and complain about either call just because it's what I would have personally done because I'm a coward. But like you talk about like me not cashing out. Like that's essentially
I was going to do another gambling analogy. It's like It's like having a 16 against a 7. The dealer's showing a 7.
Yeah.
You're probably screwed either way. Might as well hit it and at least go out on your terms.
I agree. I'm not going to sit here and complain about that. I'm certainly not going to complain about the penalties on that play because if you're begging for holding calls and face masks on your 2-point try, it probably wasn't your day. The referees are abysmal and they're terrible. The NFL has yet to do anything about that and rectify it in the league for years now. They're still part-time employees, so the referees are garbage. We all know it. I'm just going to move on from it. The fact, by the way, real quick, actually, the fact that everybody else has to take accountability for being bad at their jobs, but refs are like, they get to do whatever they want. Kind of crazy to me. But
phenomenal point in the chat by some of our guys. Everyone just chalking that extra point up if you kick it, it's a tie game. Sure, Justin Tucker said the same thing. Ravens fans said the same thing when Justin Tucker walked out there in 2021.
Reed brought that up, Jacob. Reed brought that up, and he's like, boy, I don't know what's going to happen here if Evan misses this.
I thought they were trying to draw them off sides, and I thought we had no timeouts left. Oh. So it left my brain that we had no timeouts left. Camera over here. Yeah. I thought we had no timeouts left. So when I see it tick down to 1, and I'm like, are we just trying to draw them off sides? Or we're going to take a 5-yard penalty, making this a 40-yard field goal attempt, PAT? And I lost it for a second. Then I realized we had a timeout, and I was like, golly. Would have just been a terrible, terrible decision.
I love that as well. We kill Zack Taylor for all the nitpicky stuff during the season. Going up there and trying to draw him off sides and then using your last timeout, which does you no good to have in your back pocket if the Ravens get the ball back anyway. Phenomenal coaching. Right. That is great stuff. Because if you get down to the 1, you run the Tanner Hudson crap again, you get a 2-point conversion.
There was one thing on that final drive that you and Nate kept saying. There's like 30 seconds left.
40 seconds left.
There's like 30 seconds left, and we're like on like the 30-yard line, 20-yard line.
No, it was. I wasn't saying. He said it then.
And they just kept going, run the ball. And I'm like, what?
No.
Did you bet on Chase Brown?
I said no. I said on like the second and short or third and short inside the 10 with a timeout in 48 seconds because you wanted to kill the clock too. No. And I also think if you're able to advance the ball to get a little bit closer to a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, I think you could run the ball there. Yeah.
Running the ball at any point in that drive would have been
crazy.
I would have melted on that stream if the Bengals ran the ball in that drive.
Crazy. Unless and that's where it'd be results driven. Unless we got like 15 yards.
Yeah, Chase Brown breaks a 30-yard touchdown.
Right, and then you're like, okay, that's
I don't
crazy,
grade results, Reed. I grade process, so I still would have hated it.
Correct. Only.
This has been a big day for me grading process because it's been a lot of process. We do have a super chat, Justin Edgell.
We have 2 super chats.
And shocker, I can actually read this one.
Let's read them.
Usually you can't read Justin Edgell's super chats on air.
Well, you got to read the first one.
This one's good. You know what's been overlooked during this crap season? I guess I can't read the whole thing. You know what's been overlooked during this crap season? How good Mims has been. Yeah. Absolutely. The O-line has been terrible since Orlando Brown went down. And Marius Mims has been a top 30 tackle in all of football. He's been unbelievable as a rookie.
It's a good line with Brown.
With Brown in there, it's a great tackle pair.
Right. With Cody Kia, not very good.
You guys like Cody Ford? You think he's going to be here for a long term?
I think Cody Ford's
also a guard.
Right? Yeah, he's a fine backup guard.
Right.
He's just playing left tackle for us right now.
Right. He's just putting a tough situation there at the current moment. Are we out of time? Are we out of time for the radio?
You got about like a minute left.
Okay. Well, we'll. I don't know what else I got.
No, that's it. That was it. We were mourning. We were grieving today. This was a Bengals grieving show.
That's right.
Next week, next Monday, we start it again. We start with good vibes.
That's right. That's right. We start with good vibes. I don't know how good they'll be.
Hopefully, I'll have a voice.
But we'll be continuing doing. Jacob, look like you had something to say.
At what point next week are we going to get back in on this team?
It's normally
Tuesday, Wednesday.
No. It'll probably be Monday because that's normally what it takes. Like 2-3 days. No, because
Kinner's going to be back on Monday. He's going to make me feel like crap.
We'll talk about Kinner
so
too after.
Take till Tuesday.
Yeah, you guys thought we weren't going to do a radio show. I want to go to like 1. I just want to keep it rolling.
Jacob, no.
We're not going to go to 1, but we're
anyway.
Jacob, if Colts and Broncos both lose this weekend, I'm back.
Say it again.
Colts and Broncos, if they both lose this weekend, I'm back.
All right. Yeah, that works.
All right. We'll see you guys on Monday. I don't know if you guys know this, but the reason that I hadn't been on the show is because of a very stressful time of the year, which is fall. We got a lot of stuff to do. I circled a date on that calendar. I said November 10th. November 10th is when Rita Roo is free.
Uh-oh.
It's November 8th. It's almost there. Almost there. These guys will see you on Monday. I don't think I'll see you on Monday. But thank you so much for being here on the radio. For the radio listeners, for the YouTube listeners, we'll continue on after this. This is 1410 Wing AM, Chatterbox Sports, presented by United Dairy Farmers Reed Mouse, filling in for Justin Kenner with Jacob Tissett and Elliot Rearing. See ya. I forget all the bits that I do, but it is funny when I do those games. If I go to a sport, listen, I feel like it makes me feel better because I acknowledge that I like things to be about me. Listen, you don't get into media not at least liking the limelight a little bit. There's no one here that's like, oh, I don't like when attention's brought on me. Everyone in this room likes the attention brought on upon themselves. But I like to acknowledge it. When I go to a sports bar and watch the Bengals game, I very much try to control that room. Yeah. And I tried to do that last night at Champions.
He did it. He controlled it. He controlled. My parents were impressed. Everybody was impressed with the cheering. I think Champions, again, it was a pretty damn good crowd for the show. He started it.
So typically when I do it, it takes 3 touchdowns. The first touchdown, I'm by myself.
Of course.
Right? Everyone's like, who's this fool over there? Touchdown number 2, I get claps, right? They're doing the... By touchdown 3, everyone's singing along. Okay. Everyone's there. Last night, Champions, first touchdown. And by the second stanza, they were already all singing. Everyone was on board. So it was a great crowd. Great crowd. It was packed. It was a lot of fun. It was truly a lot of fun. Yeah, I forget what they said at one point. Well, I know I laughed because the first like 5 penalties went against the Ravens.
Yeah.
And we finally get a penalty against us, and I'm like, man, we're not getting anything.
that's when that whole table turned around and looked at you. It was very, very funny.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was fun until it wasn't. But like I said, I do it in the first 2 quarters when stakes are low, knowing that I've got to fully like give my heart for the second half. And I don't think I said anything in the second half. I sang the songs, but I don't think I did any bits or anything like that.
I cut the live chat out of the song last night. I didn't sing the last song because of nervousness for the 2-point conversion.
I don't think we sang it either.
And then right when they didn't get the 2, I wasn't singing. So.
Well, I do it after the PAT.
I do too.
You got to see the PAT. Yeah, I didn't get a chance. Normally we do the I don't want to work. That's after field goals.
I just kept asking the chat if we were banging on our drums, and they said yes. I like turning the Bengals chants into just like kind of statements and questions.
Right.
It's like, hey guys, do you hear that Bengal growling?
Yes.
And I think he's mean and angry.
I love that.
He's coming prowling.
Are you, when you sing the song, do you do the trumpet where it's an offensive brute, run faster boot, and defensively he's rough?
I don't do that. That rocks though.
That's me. It's a little trumpet sound, but it sounds like a little Bengal
Is it a trumpet
growl.
or a trombone?
I don't know what it is. I'm not you and I did the Great American Brass Band. They all were instruments. There was a lot of instruments.
We're tuba guys. We're tuba guys.
What was the one girl? The oboe,
sousaphone.
Well, sousaphone, the big thing. And this girl's barefoot, just bouncing around. Just looked absolutely ridiculous there.
Jacob, I wish we had clips of your reactions because I when I got home last night, I went through all of them, and the one where not the one that I showed Reed, but I think it was
putting it all on the line last night.
I think it was the one where Jamar scored the bomb, or maybe it was the one to tie it. Maybe it was the one to lose by 1. The last touch on the Bengals scored. Your eyes when they score are so funny. You just go into crazy mode and you start looking around, and then you get up and cheer. Oh, it was very good.
In my basement alone.
Oh yeah, it was. Does your mom get like scared when you?
She wasn't home. She wasn't home last night, but
that's good.
Yeah, she's told me before some of the away games. She texted me. She asked I'm okay.
Yeah. This has got to be killing you.
There's
This
some
year.
funny ones. Yeah, it's really starting to chip away at
Your soul. Your
my
soul.
general day-to-day
ripped
habits.
apart.
Well, here's
It's killing me.
Here's the thing about cheering the way that Jacob does. I don't know if he feels this way, but the way I do is I fully understand. Like it sometimes isn't like it's involuntary, like the way that I react to the Bengals. But I actually make a conscious decision. I'm going to lay it all out.
Yes.
Like I'm going to give every single ounce of a fan cheering. Yes. I'm going to live or die by every emotion. And I make that decision knowing that it might end up killing me in the end.
You cannot convince me the level fans cheer don't matter. Like if I'm not cheering at home for the game, the Bengals are going to lose. Like if I'm up and I'm cheering and I'm getting after it, you got to do your part. It matters. It matters.
We did our part.
Jacob, you should have seen me when Cam Taylor had the interception that didn't count.
Oh,
that was the moment of the game in that bar. Like out of everything, the Jamar touchdown, everything that happened in that game, that was the biggest play of the game.
Hey,
and I screamed so loud, and my voice hurt immediately after. And then I was high-fiving everybody. I turned around. And then by the time I turned around, everybody was like, oh. And then they saw the flag. Or you saw that they just showed the replay and he dropped it. And I was like, oh, my God. That was it. And I just kept saying to myself.
I said 2nd and 10. I was like, all right, 2nd and 10.
Literally every play after that, I was like, all right, they can get a stop. They can get a stop.
They could.
They can get a stop. They can get a stop. And at no point did they resemble anything that could be a stop. And that's where the defense is like, there's nobody. There's nobody that can be even considered a rational defender. There's Trey Hendrickson, and then it's garbage.
We have, obviously, vast majority of Bengals fans in the chat wallowing in the pain with us. A lot of Ravens fans.
Did you call them fools?
Ducking in. I like calling people fools. I'm getting to fools, though. We have like 5 or 6 Chiefs fans. Losers. Focus on your own football team.
Yeah, the one time that I did the show, we had a Panthers fan come in there. It was the Panthers game. And I would just every time we'd have a good play, it was one Panthers fan, I'd call out his name and call him a fool. It'd be like, sorry, Michael, because I saw you last night. It'd be like if Michael Ackley was a Ravens fan and I'm doing this show, I'd be like, what do you think about that, Michael Ackley? Fool.
I love fool. Fool's a good one.
Fool. You gotta really fool.
Casey got called a fool last night. By you. 2 for 1. He didn't know.
Let's see if Justin Kinner's tweeting.
I can't, guys. You guys.
We don't have headphones.
We don't. But they can still play.
You guys gotta
send
stop.
it to you?
If you guys keep texting me during Bengals games and expect me not to be mean, when you say derogatory things about the Bengals or say something, I'm gonna be mean. I did this. I don't know if you guys. Week 1. Elliot's in our group.
Elliot's still in a puddle.
Elliot's in a group chat, and he's like, "This is exactly why Zack Taylor should be fired. He never gets the team ready, yada yada yada." Which whatever. But at that moment, it was like the 3rd quarter, and I'm fighting for my life using Jacob's seats. Thank you.
Of course.
For the game, and I just said it was very mean. Like it wasn't even like
it wasn't funny at all.
I just said shut up, Elliot, and then he said something else, and I said no, seriously, shut up. And he didn't talk in the chat for a week.
I think shut up is grossly underutilized.
Shut
like
up.
If you're in a conversation,
so hurtful.
If you're in a conversation with someone, and you just go, "Hey, shut up."
Yeah, that's
that cuts.
Like it for me personally. Like you tell me to shut up. Like that's like
you
a
tell
death.
Kenner to shut up on Monday.
It was the no serious.
know.
The first one could have been taken as a I'm joking. We're all jabbing in here.
Clear it up for everyone.
And I said no, seriously, shut up. And that was mean. I feel a little bad about that.
That's okay.
I promised a Paul Fritchner story.
That's right.
Because you
Elliot has one too.
You promised.
So funny.
You said I was like in my element. What did you say? Paul's in his element at the casino. Trace is in his element at amusement park. As amusement parks, and I was in it at a Bengals game. I went to a casino with Paul. We went to a Stars game. Him and I did up in Columbus, and we stopped at the casino on the way home. And there was a guy that's sitting at the end of the table, third base. If you guys play blackjack, he's playing. He's third base. He's the one closest to the shoe. And he was clearly on some sort of opioid to where he was like, he wasn't drunk. He wasn't like, it wasn't an upper, but he was clearly not sober. And he was like, and Paul's sitting right next to him. And the dealer's asking, like, hey, do you want to hit? And there's and Paul, and this guy, I'm gonna be honest, like he looked like he had. I'm stereotyping here. He looked like he had done time. He looked like someone you don't want to mess with. And it's getting to this guy's turn. Are you gonna hit or stay? I guess that's first base, not third base, but whatever. It's the one close to the shoe. You gonna hit or stay? And he's like just not answering the questions because he's not there. But he's playing. He's putting his chips out. He's playing, and like they really got to talk to him. Paul is standing 12 inches from his face, and he's laughing in his face, like full blown, like. What are you doing? Like full blown. This dude's. And Paul's just like he's like, I can't believe what? Do something. And I'm just like, Paul, you're gonna get shanked here.
Well,
you're gonna get shanked.
When we went with Paul, we sat down at this table and we were there for a good hour. We played for a while, and it was similar to that. It was this son and father. The father looked like 88 years old.
Old man.
88 years old, and his son
Elderly
was
man.
there. Paul was winning money. Paul was winning money at the table. Nobody else was.
And it didn't seem like they were like there to gamble.
No.
Like, it was a father and son. They were having
they're
a good
just having
time.
fun. Right, they're just like they probably were like,
Probably
hey,
left
you
their
wanna go?
cards at home, brought $100 cash. Like,
Right.
yeah.
And then they probably like went out and had a beer. Like, hey, let's go have some more fun.
Yeah.
Let's go play some
Sit at the
cards.
blackjack table for a hand. Yeah.
So Paul keeps winning, and Paul's good at keeping because when you're at a blackjack table, you got to keep the vibes up. So he's like, oh come on, ace, and you slam the table, you cheer for it. Well, this old guy was getting shelled. Every card he got,
Bomb.
it was like a 5 or 6 first off the rip card every single time. And Paul at one point goes, oh no, I can't believe it. I can't believe you haven't gotten a good card.
Just keep making fun of him for losing.
And he keeps making fun of this guy. He keeps laughing him off the table. Eventually that guy leaves, and Paul turns to me and goes, I couldn't believe it. That guy didn't win one hand.
We know, Paul. You told him.
Oh, but it was so funny.
I miss Paul.
I miss Paul too.
Good guy.
I also that same night that I went. It's the only time I've been to the casino with Paul. He's the guy that there's some guys that like yell at you for the way you're playing. Paul is that guy. Paul very much was like, you're hitting? What? Instead of just letting the guy play because it all equals out. He's like, you're hitting? What? He's judging you for the way you're playing. And I'm like, Paul, I gotta get away from this table from you, brother. You're gonna get
Paul
shit.
yelled at me for hitting one time, but Paul didn't like playing blackjack with me because I play by vibes. It's like if I feel the 2's the next card and I have an 18, like, I'm gonna get the 20. Like it's all vibes.
I
I get frustrated with the way people play, but like I don't get mad at you. I don't.
Paul got up.
This is a real story. This has nothing to do with Paul, but it was at the casino. I was playing blackjack, and this guy was drunk. He was I've never seen a human being this drunk, but he was happy drunk. So it wasn't like he was down. He was
Wasn't
happy.
getting angry. He was just having fun.
He was just having fun. Really, really drunk. Well, he doubled. He had 19, not like with an ace or anything. It was just a 10 and a 9. The magic number's 21. He looks at the dealer and says, I'm doubling down. I'm doubling down. The dealer says, please don't. Please don't do that. And the guy's like, no, I'm doing it. You can't talk me out of it. Swear to God he hit a 2. Swear to God he hit a 2. It was the loudest I've ever heard a table cheer. Oh, it was so funny. The dealer just had to walk away. Oh, it was so good.
That rocks.
That's great. That's great. I don't know. I know we've kind of transitioned into just talking gambling stories now, but I don't know what else to say about the Bengals. We kind of hashed it all out. Is there anything we didn't talk about the punt?
Instead of the 57-yard field goal?
Yeah, instead of the 57-yard field
We
goal,
only
it's
kicked-
4th
What do
and
you guys think
16.
about that?
We don't-
I
Is there
at
any
the time I
disagreement
thought
in
it
the
was a
room?
punt. I thought it was a little further. I thought it was 59. I don't know. I
can't-
guess
'Cause
the
Ball's on
way
the
I
40.
thought about
Ball's
it,
on the 40, so
hindsight being what it is, 50-50. Because at that point our defense had played well.
right.
If I would have known that we were going to give up 35 points anyways, I'd say, yeah, let's kick it. Like let's if I would have known that we were going to give up back-to-back touchdowns, I would have just said, yeah,
perpetuity,
like
yeah.
they would have scored anyways. So they ended up scoring anyways. So what's it matter? So might as well just make it easier on you. But at that moment, I wanted.
You don't have a kicker you can trust. I
Even
mean,
in hindsight, I feel like I'm okay with punting because the defense didn't get 92 drove down the field, down their throat, dominated. It was one play where two guys quit on the play they scored down the sideline. Like the defense still, to a degree, proved in this game that the Ravens can't go 90 yards and score a touchdown on them.
yeah.
Like it didn't happen. So that's the one part of the play discussion where I 100% agree with the punt and the 2-point conversion. Those two.
I would have rather.
The end of these two Ravens games, when you look at the drive summaries, are just so funny. Both times. Yeah. Both times. Like I'm looking at it right now. These are the final six drives between the two teams. Ravens touchdown. Us turnover on downs. That was the 3rd and 2, 4th and 2. Touchdown, 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 touchdown. 5 touchdowns, another scoring opportunity.
Reed, it was the first game in NFL history where both quarterbacks threw for 4 touchdowns in the same game. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
I'm pretty sure that's what I read.
That can't be true.
It's either 4. Maybe they.
What about that Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff game that we always
50.
talk about?
I'm almost certain. Unless I saw that stat wrong.
No way.
Jamar became the first player ever with 2 career games over 260 yards in his career. Assume he's going to get a third at some point. And then he became the first player ever with 2 games of 150-plus yards and 10 catches against the same team in the same season.
He's on. I've said this before. I gave too. Not. I don't think I gave too much credit to Joe. I still don't think I've given too much credit. I just didn't give enough to Jamar. Jamar was incredible. I mean, that play, Joe. That play with the long touchdown. Joe made an incredible play too because he stepped up in the pocket on a block, collapsing pocket like.
He was. I mean, I know this is a Jamar segment. He was incredible running last night.
Yeah.
Incredible running. Is he the best running to throw quarterback in the league by a mile?
He's really good. I saw some people saying that he looked off last night. He made like 2 bad throws, and I think both times he was getting hit while he threw.
He's the best passer in the league.
Skip. Skip Bayless tweet.
Did he?
Yeah, he tweeted that exact same thing.
The one thing you both had the same reaction to, Derrick Henry's butt.
Cheeks out.
On
the broadcast.
You both said it.
In the moment, well, you miss. I don't. Elliot, I'm gonna get on you. I think you are on your phone too much during games. There was 6 different plays where you're like, I didn't see what happened. He didn't see the Tanner Hudson. I was like, you weren't watching the game on 4th and inches? He's like, what happened? I was like, we just QB sneaked it with Tanner Hudson.
I knew they QB sneaked it. I didn't see how he got there. I am on the phone looking at live bets. That's usually what I'm doing. I'm looking at live bets.
And then the other one was that he didn't see Derrick Henry's butt.
I did not see Derrick Henry's butt
on the broadcast.
Right, and then they showed the replay, and they got to the point where his butt was all. I mean, we're literally watching the game crumble, and I started laughing. I was like, I just saw Derrick Henry's butt.
It's funny.
Butts are funny.
It's funny. That's why I figured out that game was on TV.
What?
I thought it was Amazon Prime only.
No, when it's in your market, they affiliate it to ABC. But by the way, that's a bad way to watch because
it's delayed.
It's delayed even further.
Right.
So it's like instead of getting it from the stream, those guys are just getting it from the stream and then putting it out via latency and getting it to cable, so you get even delayed because the Jamar Chase touchdown.
Oh, that's right.
The guys in the kitchen at Champions, we hear a yeah, or we hear it.
It wasn't a yeah.
It was a very loud.
Because they're probably watching Amazon Prime, on their phone or something.
Correct, but we hear a very loud like it was a noise.
Yeah.
And I thought it was an interception. I thought immediately it was an interception. And 20 seconds fall off before you see Joe Burrow drop back. And in my mind, I was like, oh my God, he's going to throw a pick and we lose this game. And fucking.
Yeah, there were people in our.
That could be anyway. That you didn't. You did good there. You saved that. You saved it. Don't worry about it. You saved it. We're not on the radio. We saved it. Doesn't matter what you do.
Fudging Jamar Chase down the center of the street. That was like I said before. They clearly saw something in the Ravens defense because that was the third consecutive bomb. Neither one worked on 3rd or 2nd and 4th and 2. Probably not the right time to call those. And then 1st and 10 did it again and it worked.
I haven't slipped up on the streams yet this year. Last night, 4 or 5 times down the stretch, I was on the brink. And then post-game show, I forget what the question was, but Craig asked me some question. I was just like, every word in my brain right now is a cuss word, and I can't say it. Like, there's no words that I can say coming to my brain right now. It was very, very frustrating. They got to win this week. I think I hate that it's flexed. What do you think about it being flexed?
I don't like it either.
I think I hate that it's flexed.
It's just a lot of pressure now.
I don't like Sunday night football games. They're my least favorite of the primetime games.
Thursday nights are mine.
I don't like Thursday night. I love Thursday night watching it.
If you win, you get 10 days.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lost puppy on Sunday. Because like there's all this NFL, and you're like, where's my team?
I love when the Bengals don't play on Sunday.
But
love it.
Sunday night's my least favorite because you're just sitting waiting for it all day. When they're on
Waiting all
Thursday
day
night
for
or
Sunday
Monday
night?
night, you work.
I've been
Like you
waiting
go to
all day for
work, you
Sunday
do
night.
everything at work. Sunday night football, I'm just sitting there like, come on, Bengals, come on, let's play. And you watch all this football, you're like, I just want to watch the Bengals play.
Yeah.
And then you get to the end, and then if they lose, you're just like, shit, that stunk. Thursday nights are not good for the sport, in my opinion. Lots of injuries. You're right.
Was that field terrible last night? Or was that just a Thursday night issue?
I don't know. Mims went to the tent, twice? Mims is going to get hurt at some point in his career, which stinks, but he's pretty good when he plays.
Injury problems, but not a project.
Fair. Sure. I don't care. I don't care.
I gotta go get a car.
You
I thought he was getting a car.
You're getting a car.
I gotta go drive up to King's Toyota right now.
Ooh, King's Toyota.
No free ads. No free ads. That is where I'm going.
Why throw that out there, Everett Henry? Why?
What'd you throw out?
The Mims is gonna get hurt. Hey, I'm gonna spoil something for you.
He said that's a Kinner take.
It is a Kinner take.
I'm gonna spoil something about the National Football League that you might not realize. If you play multiple years in the NFL, at some point you're gonna get hurt. In fact, I would like to see. I think Eli Manning had the record for longest consecutive starts. It was like 10 straight seasons. Other than kickers and punters, at some point you're going to get hurt, big dog. Just is what it is.
Ooh, Favre.
Favre played the most consecutive.
297 consecutive games started.
It's incredible.
That's nuts.
I know Big Ben
240
was never
so
hurt.
money.
Like the big guys don't really get hurt ever just because they're built bigger. But I don't. Also,
Joe needs more calls or he's going to get hurt.
I need them to stop zooming in on Joe's wrist.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Stop that
We
shit.
got a straight up butt shot as we started the broadcast. It was just his wrist and shotgun. I was like, what are we doing? Then Lamar hurts his hand, and we don't even see it all game.
I mean, like every game, they're just like, "Is his wrist hurt?" And I was like, "I don't know."
Probably. Who cares?
He's put up the best numbers of his career. I'm not really worried about it.
I'm
not really worried about it anymore.
We have the best quarterback in the league statistically. We have the best wide receiver in the league statistically, and we have the best edge rusher in the league statistically, and we are 4-6.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
Elliot, break that down for me.
Well,
Tell me why.
Well, that's just why. Like I'm not gonna do this.
Tell me why.
Well, I'm not gonna tell you why because
When
you're not gonna like my
When you get
answer.
below that list,
You're not gonna like my
you
answer.
also have
You're gonna hate my
one of the
answer.
better tackles in the league, one of the most explosive running backs in the league.
You're gonna hate my answer.
What's your answer?
I'm not gonna give you my answer
didn't
because you're
even
gonna hate
question.
it. It was he was basically saying you have three of the best players in the NFL, maybe the three
At
best.
the three biggest impact positions.
LT's bigger than
I think Orlando Brown's one of the best left tackles in football.
LT's more important than wide receiver. But go on.
But I was just saying, like it's inexcusable. There's no conceivable way to think about this that doesn't involve.
Here's the thing.
Me saying it's the coaching staff.
Out of the 32 head coaches, how many are 4-6 or worse?
I don't know. I'd have to do some
Here's
math.
the thing. Whenever we talk about
Half.
coaching,
Thank you.
whenever we talk about coaching, it's so easy. It's so easy to find hypocrisies in your opinions
Sure.
while also finding validity in them. Like I know we don't like to do the one-to-one comparison between baseball managers and NFL, but like all season long we talk about David Bell and we're like he just doesn't have the guys. He just doesn't have the guys. And I get that Joe and I know that the Bengals have 3 elite players.
Yeah.
And Trey, Jamar, and Joe, but like also there's just not a lot of guys out there, right? Like there's just not a whole lot. But in the same jest, like someone's got to. It's like Zach, you are the guy in charge of this team. Zach, I know that the offense is playing better than it's ever been, and you are in charge of the offense, so I want to give you credit there. But at the same time, like, this team has higher expectations than to be 4-6 with the schedule that they played. Now, the schedule is better. Like, to be quite honest, the only game that looks like a bad loss, and it's a terrible loss, is the Patriots. Like,
Correct.
the Commanders, like we've lost to the Chiefs. They're undefeated. We lost 2 games to the Ravens. They're probably the 3rd best or 4th best team in the league. We lost to the Eagles, who, as much as I hate Nick Sirianni, they look like still a wagon. Like we haven't had a bad loss other than the Patriots. I mean, they're bad in the fact that we should have won the games, but it's not like we're losing to. Like, I'll even say, like, if we lose to teams like the Chargers or the Broncos, those are worse teams than the teams that we've lost to already.
100%. The one thing that I think does worry me is if you look at the games the offense has thrived, Commanders, Panthers, Ravens. Those are really bad defenses. Raiders as well. Bottom 5 of the bottom, what?
Also put
7
up
or
20
8 defenses?
Also put up 26 on the Chiefs. That might be the best defense in the league.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, you're right, but I feel like the sample size here is getting pretty big as to where I feel like this team is struggling against competent teams on both sides of the ball. Even
well, I mean, like the Giants, they struggled, but the reason is the Giants have like 10 more sacks than the next best team.
Right.
And when you
But
drop
that's when
back,
we get down the
when
line
you drop
here.
back to pass a lot, like that's a problem.
But when we get down the line here, like Chargers defense, we just talked about how good they are. Broncos defense,
We'll learn
they're
a lot.
good. Browns
We'll learn a
have
lot in
edge
these
rushers.
next 3 games. Is the next 3 games? No, that we don't play the Broncos.
Chargers,
for
Steelers, Cowboys, Titans, Browns,
Okay.
Broncos, Steelers.
We'll learn a lot in the next 2 games.
Everyone's
Hey,
saying the
we're learning
Titans
a-
is an easy win to mark off this schedule.
It's gotta
that
be.
defensive line rocks.
It's got to be an easy win, man.
Cody Ford's playing left tackle. Jeffrey Simmons going to have a day.
He's not going to play. He's not going to play left tackle. The Bengals are going to win against the Titans.
All right, so you're getting a new car.
I got to go get it.
Have you penciled in a drive?
A drive?
Immediately.
Yeah,
You
like-
got to go somewhere.
Right, you get a new car. You
Well, I
gotta
guess
go.
from Kings to his house is like
I was gonna say you gotta take it out for a spin. It's
Yeah,
a
it's-
beautiful day.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the day goes. We'll
Is it
see.
a convertible or are you going to make it a convertible?
I should just cut a
should
hole
go to
in the
Home Depot
top,
and get a
shouldn't I?
saw.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was so funny.
Cut the top off.
That's pretty funny.
No, I will not have a top. That's okay.
No, you will have a top.
If I saw it off, yeah, I'll get my saw guy on it.
No, if you sawed it off, you then wouldn't have a top.
You have a top.
You
curve.
have a top on the car.
This is so stupid.
I'll saw it off.
I
What are we gonna do with the Impala?
I don't know. There's got to be some sort of. I haven't decided. My dad's still trying to work on that, so we'll see what happens.
Reed
I
will not let you just track.
I wanted to drive it off a ravine. I wanted to like put a rock on the gas and just drive it off a cliff.
Breaking Bad.
And yeah, in spectacular fashion. That's what I wanted to do. Now I don't know the legality of
You
that.
should honestly save it, put it in like a storage facility or something.
Yeah, we'll use our
Drive
storage.
it to spring training next year.
That's what we should just see how far it can go.
You drive it to Arizona.
I like that
it's
a
not
lot.
getting to like Lexington, but
You should
Yeah,
you should do that. Wouldn't that be fun content?
Dude,
where
it
you just
didn't
take
get
you
to
just
AIA.
take it, you drive it, and you say, I'm not gonna get an oil change.
I'm not gonna get gas.
I'm gonna get gas, right? That's the only thing you're getting. Like you're not changing anything else. And you're just gonna drive. And wherever you end up, you gotta get home from there.
No. Wherever you end up, that's where you start.
You want to hear the? You want? Do you want
Like that's just where you live now.
You bring an axe, you bring one axe, and you just keep driving, and you hope you're not in the desert. You hope you're in the woods somewhere.
Yeah.
And your car stops, you pull off, and you're like, all right, this is where my log cabin set
You
up. This
gotta
is
hope
my
you
land.
don't get far. If you
You-
get out to the West Coast with no AC in that car, you're gonna be in a tough spot.
Do you want to hear something hilarious about this idea? I haven't even told you guys this. The latest development with this car, maybe it has something to do with why it's dead. The gas gauge doesn't work anymore, so
You just don't know.
I don't know how much gas is in my car. So it's either completely full or completely
That's
empty.
a sick wrinkle.
So I've had a method where like I know roughly how much. Like
So you just got to keep it. You just got to go.
I refill it every Friday. I refill it at
I was gonna say,
Every other day.
yeah, I would just go get gas like every day.
I refill it every Friday. That's usually my mark. Because usually it's 45 minutes here, 45 minutes home, and then that usually gets me 1 week.
You let it
of
go all
gas.
the way down.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, I'm
Are you like a quarter tank guy?
He's a half tank guy, I think. He said.
Yeah, if it goes below half tank, I have a 25-gallon tank. You probably have a big tank too.
Oh, 30 something.
Yeah, I've got a 25-gallon. I think the F-250 one we have here is like a 40-gallon.
Jeez.
It takes forever
Yeah, I'm like
to fill up.
33 or something like that.
But I'm 25, so I fill it up. I fill it up all the time.
I get below empty.
So
Like,
do I.
I
So do
get
I.
off on the highway on my way home from work because I realize I don't have enough gas.
I do the Shaq method.
Yeah.
It's like you just put $20
Yeah.
in every time he goes
not
half.
expensive.
He goes
Yeah.
a half. It's $20 It's instead of $80 every
I
time.
like that.
Oh, Jimmy's in the chat. Good timing for the gas conversation.
That's right.
Jimbo's car ran out of gas on the way home from here one time.
Jeremiah's did the one
That's
time
wild.
that I had to
Oh,
go.
yeah.
I had to go give him a gas tank at like 2 a.m.
That's right.
because we got back from some event and I put the board away and he's like, "Hey, I'm on 129. I get gas." So I told you this because you're like, "What do I do with this Impala?" I don't know what it's worth, and I think actually
You can get $1,000.
used car prices are going down that I've noticed than when I sold mine. I sold mine 2 years ago now. I had a 2006 Mustang. The paint was going bad. The interior was kind of messed up. I didn't take good care of it. Had 210,000 miles. The car did not move.
Yeah.
The calipers had completely rusted onto the – like I tried to get it fixed a few times. They did, and it was bad. And the guy came – I sold it to a guy in my lot. He gave me $2,500 right then and there. Car did not move. And what he actually did was he – like because the calipers were so stuck, it would like every time the wheel would turn, it would like – and the dude, instead of getting a tow truck, he called a tow truck. And then he's like, "You know what? Screw this," and just drove off. And I just heard him leaving my parking lot going, and I don't know where he went. But I haven't seen the Mustang to this day. $2,500.
Did he know what there were issues with it?
Yeah, and he said it was a good deal. I was like, all right. I went and I got it appraised at like a dealership, and they're like, "We'll give you $750." You're like, okay, whatever, dude. Because I remember Paul started working right around the same time for Chatterbox, and he had that Grand Cherokee, which was like a 2010. It was a much nicer car than I was, and he was going to sell it to a dealership for like $1,000. And I like told him, I was like, "Paul, I will buy your car for $1,200. Like I'll give you an extra $200 if you give it to me." And I mean, my intentions were very clear.
To sell it for way. This is just the office.
I was literally going to grab his Grand Cherokee and immediately put it on Facebook Marketplace.
Didn't Dwight do that to Andy?
Yeah, he did. In the office, yeah.
So that's what my recommendation is whatever, if you're going to sell it, don't sell it to a dealership. Don't sell it to a dealership. If your idea is to scrap it, if you're just going to scrap it, because it's probably worth like $500 in just metal alone.
Let me hit it with a bat first.
If your idea is just to scrap it, at the very least, throw it on Facebook Marketplace. You're going to get some weird people interacting with you, calling you.
And don't let them pick up from your house. Go meet them somewhere.
Yeah, go meet them at a Kroger.
Yeah,
or
public library.
or
Shell,
Meijer or something like
yeah.
that. Go meet them somewhere.
Public library.
But put it up there for whatever price. You want it $1,200 and just see what bites you. Start at $1,200 because they're going to try and talk you down. Start at like $1,250. And
Start at $5,000.
and then when they go like, "I can't do $1,250, will you do $1,000?" You're like, "Yeah, sure." But
And then
like,
they're
but make
like,
it seem
"Ah,
like, but make it seem like it's like really hurting your wallet.
Okay.
Take a day.
That's an office bit too. Don't give me your best offer. I want your second
I want
best
your
offer.
second best offer.
I did an office bit to you yesterday and you didn't get it.
I didn't get
You
it.
were
Oh, no.
ashamed. I think I said like this 241's gonna hit like scrapbooking.
Yeah.
And
So it was
and
light
he's-
crack.
And he's like, "What is that? I don't get that." And I was like, "Aren't you an office guy?"
That's a pretty big one.
And he's like, "What? I don't get it." And I was like, "It's like it's like crack." And you're like,
Before we get out of here, Nate Seltzer has a question, and I think we do have to bring it up because I heard it while I was watching Chatterbox Bengals last night, and it made my skin crawl on my body.
Called it a lot.
Is Meyer singular or plural?
The thing that I got was Myers. It was Myers USB port. It was Myers USB port.
He said Myers.
Apostrophe S is what you're going with?
Yeah.
It
By
was
the way,
Myers
it wouldn't be
USB port.
plural. It'd be possessive.
Yeah, it would be possessive, Jacob.
Even though
Myers with an S, no apostrophe, would just be plural.
I know, but like when they
Yeah,
call,
Jacob,
when people call
possessive,
it
eat
Myers,
shit.
when people call it Myers, it would be like,
Kroger's is just two Krogers.
yeah, when people say Kroger's, I think they think like the name is Kroger, and they're like, it's a possessive, like this is Kroger's grocery store.
I always
This is
thought people
mine.
were just stupid.
But yeah, Elliot definitely did call it Myers for like 1,000
And then
times.
he kept doing it after you yelled at him.
All right, I gotta go.
All right.
See you guys. I had fun.
Love you all.
I had fun.
No sign off.
I will.
Sorry I don't have a voice.
This is my sign off. I'm sorry I didn't plan the show.
I think it was a good one.
I just came in here and I rip it sometimes.
Grip it and rip it.
I don't think we ever. I would start on a rant and I would talk about 12 different things in one rant.
And then one of us would just grab one of them.
Right, and then I would grab one thing from your six points,
right.
and then we just went it back. Normally, I'm pretty good about scheduling five segments. I scheduled 0 today. I normally have a monologue. Didn't do that. We didn't do headlines. We didn't do any segments today. We just talked about the Bengals game, and we had a lot of people in here today. And I hope you guys had fun, because I had fun. We want to steal a bit from Dan Patrick. What did you guys learn today?
I learned that Kinner, I thought it was a troll, but now I think it's hurtful. Now I think he really hates me. In Bengals fans.
What I learned was Kinner-centric as well.
Do you think Kenner got mad at me when I told him to sit and spin, Ken?
Sit and spin Kin is maybe one of the hardest I've laughed at a response to a Twitter thread of 2 people that I know that I didn't know the context of when I saw the response first. Because I just saw sit and spin Kin, and I cracked up. And then I saw the...
I tweeted that, I laughed at myself. By the way, someone asked me last night about... Because I don't tweet a whole lot anymore.
No.
You need to bring it back.
I don't tweet a whole lot anymore.
Get more active.
And when I tweet, they are very much not for any of my followers. They are for me.
Can't banger, though.
They are for me. Someone asked me last night, Reed, do people think your weapons of mass destruction tweets are funny? To that answer, the answer is no. No one finds those tweets funny other than me, because I think that's a very funny bit. And like
The Trenton Irwin one that was something.
forced.
That was something. Because he sucks.
Well, I did it. It started with about Brad Robbins last year. Because how it started is we would.
Start with Sample?
No. Sample is the bit about Sample is get Drew Sample the ball in open
space.
space, and that's what makes it.
I thought this was just
It
another.
was EMP Evan McPherson weapon of mass destruction. Is how it started. EMP WMD, because it was during that playoff run. That's what me and my friends would always text. So then we get Brad Robbins, and he sucks. So then I would say BR WMD, Brad Robbins is a weapon of mass destruction. And then I saw one of those bits that are like, is your team texting WRD? It's slang for Wide Reed's dildo or something like that. So that's where I got it from. Is your team texting about BRWMD?
Those videos never fail to make me laugh.
So funny.
The Eric Adams one's a classic. Check your child's room. Behind the scrapbook is a pound of cocaine.
I know we're trying to wrap up this show and we're just doing thoughts.
I gotta.
Elliot, you can leave.
I might have to go.
Get out of here, kid.
I
leave.
gotta go.
Reed and I might go till 3.
Well, you gotta get send the show to radio.
You have to send the show to radio.
What was I gonna say? I don't even know. Oh, I wanted to do a bit about the Halloween. I found this razor blade in my Halloween candy. I wanted to do one for like Sheldon Rankins. like I found Sheldon Rankins in my Snickers bar. Oh, thanks.
He's not out there.
Okay. The other one is if you're a wrestling fan, I just saw this and I cracked up. You know how they have like amateur wrestling, like semi-pro wrestling and stuff like that, and their gimmicks are just absolutely hilarious. Do you know who the wrestler Kane is?
Yeah.
There was one I found from this semi-pro where this guy was dressed up like Kane, but he was white. So you know how Kane has like the red and black flames and stuff like that? Wears the mask? He was dressed in that, but it was white. It was almost looked like a Bengals white tiger. And his wrestling name was Cocaine. And his finishing move, he'd pull out an 8-ball and pour it on his face. And he'd get amped up, and that's how he'd end the match.
That's
electric. He'd get amped
electric.
up on the cocaine, and it was so funny. Oh my God, I cracked up. It also like Kane's like 7 foot tall and 300 pounds. This guy was like 6'2"
Is
and
he
like
a mayor
100
now?
and 140, and he's just he pours probably like baking soda or flour on his face.
hilarious.
So funny. Yes, he is a mayor in Tennessee.
Tennessee, right? Yeah.
Tennessee. Oh man, Joe choked last night. Horrible pass for 2. Aaron Butler.
You're a fool.
What we doing here, guy? Thank you for watching the show, but you're a fool. What a fool thing to say.
Go for it.
So here's the other rant I'm gonna go. We do this. People that are in the Chatterbox, people that are like not anti-Joe Burrow, but like try to like be like the smart guys in the room about Joe, will go, he didn't get it done in the fourth quarter. Yeah, he might have played well for the first 3, but he fumbled it or he didn't get it done in the fourth quarter. If any of those people today say anything positive like, yeah, the defense played really well for 3 quarters, it's the same damn thing. Because they gave up 28 points in the final 18 minutes of the game. 28 points. So you can say they looked good for 3 quarters, 2.5 quarters, whatever you want to say. That's fine. But they don't get a pass, especially when they've been absolutely horrendous the entire season. If this team has a competent defense, they are 7-3, 8-2, and true contenders. But we're nowhere near that, and that's where we're at today. Let's end this show.
All right. Thanks
All right.
for tuning in, everybody.
Yep. Off the bench. This is a check from Champions. I don't know when I'll see you guys next time, but I had fun. Be nice to Kenner, except for when he's being mean. So you be mean to Kenner. You know what? Be mean to Kenner. After those tweets, be mean to him. Who cares? Jacob, thank you for producing. Elliot, have fun with your Corolla. November 10 is this Sunday, and that's when Rita Roo is free. I'm a free man. I got yelled at all day Wednesday by Miami University, so I had a very stressful Wednesday afternoon. Thursday was better other than the loss. See you guys.